6:14, I'd like to call the regular city council meeting to order on Wednesday, February the 8th at,
Got to close the other meeting, the special meeting.
oh, that's right, thank you. Let's go step by step. Want to reconvene from the special close meeting, and there is nothing to report out. And then let's move on to calling to order the regular city council meeting on Wednesday, February the 8th at 6:15 p.m. I'd like to request the city clerk to read the Metro replay schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, February 10th at 1 p.m. and Sunday, February 12th at noon. It is being closed captioned and will be webcast at secmetrocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. The City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please complete a blue speaker card, which can be found at the back of the room, and provide it to the Assistant City Clerk prior to consideration of that agenda item. Thank you.
Would you call the roll, please?
For the roll call, Councilmember Nguyen. Councilmember Hume. Here. Councilmember Suen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
Here. And we're very privileged to have the former president of the school board here tonight, and I'd like to invite her to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Bobby Singh.
Hand over heart. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, at the start of every regular meeting, we always like to have a moment of silence, and like to invite the audience to join the City Council in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And I have an agenda in front of me.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? All right. Next item.
We have no closed session items under Section 3, which takes us to Section 4, our presentations and announcements, starting with item 4.1, which is the oath of office ceremony for District 4 Councilmember Stephanie Nguyen. At this time, I'd like to invite up one of my new deputy city clerks, Marielle Tsukamoto, who will be administering the oath to Councilmember Nguyen. And if I could ask Councilmember Nguyen if you could step down and head on over to my deputy, who will administer the oath to you.
Okay, it's my pleasure to have the honor of administering this oath of office. Please state your name after you say aye.
I, Stephanie Nguyen,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
May I present to you the City of Elk Grove District 4 Council Member, Stephanie Nguyen.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You'd like to say something?
Just, yeah, about 40 seconds of, I'm only going to take about 45 seconds of your time. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. You know, last week when this appointment happened, I didn't have any family with me because we weren't sure what was going to happen. So I came alone and I left alone. And today I see not only family, but amazing friends that are here. So I do want to take the moment to introduce my family that came with me, starting with my husband, Kenny Vick, who is standing back there. My two daughters, Lana and Hannah Vick, sitting up here. My mother, who gave birth to 6 of us, the youngest of the 6 of us, Antonio. And I believe my mother-in-law and father-in-law are here as well, too. As I embark on this new journey, I hope to be able to work with everybody here in guiding this city and working with my fellow colleagues, and that I appreciate not only what I've also done with all of you that are here in this room, but also hope that we will together work in this city and ensure that we take whatever we can to ensure this city continues to grow, be safe, and also ensure that our education system, as well as I have the past president of the school board, member Bobby Singh Allen, is here. I appreciate everybody coming out here. I know the weather was horrible and that you all have busy schedules, but I do want to say I appreciate everybody being here, and I look forward to working with all of you. And finally, to my fellow council members, I look forward to working alongside with you, building partnerships and collaborations. And as the only female on this dais, within the past 5 years, we talked about this earlier, I will only show my whip, not take out my whip. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
All right, next item.
Take us to section 5, our public comment.
I just want to go on the record, I did not get hugs from the council members when I got out.
Aaron, I want you to feel left out.
That makes me feel special. Just a little clowning around. I hope I do apologize, but little comic relief. Let's jump right into the next item, which is public comment. First speaker that we have in line is David Kano, and right after David is Kelly Pippett.
This thing working? Okay. All right. Mayor, Steve Lee, Steve, Jeffrick, Darren, Pat, council member. All right, so let's get started with this casino. I've been all for it since day one, since this thing started. I've been here since 2003, and I've been all for it. Now, I'm not surprised that there's been a lot of negative feedback. I've been on Pandora. I've been listening to the music at work. Some of the nastiest music of basically advertisement I've ever seen in my whole life. It's getting nastier and nastier on Channel 3 and so forth. So I'm not surprised that Thunder Valley and Red Hawk basically don't like this casino because it's going to take a lot of their business away and it's too much competition. So I could see why money's an issue for them, because a lot of people will be going to the casino here, and they will not. You got Sacramento, Rancho Cordova, Galt, Stockton. They'll be over here gambling, and they're afraid to go up to Thunder Valley and Red Hawk, and they don't want to go up there, so they're going to spend it here. So if some of you people over here that have something with Thunder Valley, and you're here, I'm not surprised that if you were paid to say, I live here, and you don't live here, and say you're against it, I'm not surprised if Red Hawk and Thunder Valley had something to do with that. I understand there's a lot of competition. They don't like competition if this casino starts over here. I get it. But it's really none of your business. And it's competition. Everything's competition. Just like if you don't see McDonald's, basically getting ticked off that Burger King is open over there because of competition, because there's a lot of different hamburgers. There's so many competition anywhere. So I'm just getting a little fed up with it. And this crime and this prostitution, everything you're going to say, before you come up here that you're against it, you better make sure you back up your craft. You better back it up, because either you put up or shut up, one of the two. So if you don't see any crime in here, when's the last time that Thunder Valley had any crime? It's been open since what? If you go to Wikipedia, it's been open since what? 2003? Hasn't been no crime then, and then they expanded it in 2011 for expansion. No crime there. Red Hawk has been open since when? 2008, 2006? No one's ever heard any crime there. So before you come up here and say you're against it, you better back it up. Because I'm really getting ticked that you're making so many accusations and you're insulting a lot of people in the city's intelligence, including mine.
Next speaker is Kelly Pippett. After Kelly is Ed Owen.
Well, mine would be a lot easier than that one. We are homeowners here in Elk Grove. We have recently purchased an RV in the last 8-10 months. We have been told that we cannot park it in our own driveway, that we have violated the code of the Elk Grove City Ordinance. I've pulled up the code enforcement, and I see that it says that this division was developed for the reasons to have unsafe, unhealthy, or unsightly conditions in the neighborhoods. And I agree with that. My 2016 motorhome is not unsightly or offensive. I'm on a dead-end street. I'm at the very end of the street. Next to my motorhome is a 6-foot cement wall that Elk Grove has put in my subdivision. I'm asking the board to reconsider this and to take a look at the ordinance and see if we can work out something that us as homeowners can have our RVs parked. A lot of the cities offer some discounts for people that don't allow the ordinance to have your RV parked. Elk Grove does not offer that. That's something we might need to look into. I have another neighbor in the neighborhood that has a smaller than an SUV. She also received the same letter. We feel that it's unfair as homeowners. We're not blocking the streets. We're not blocking the blind spots. We feel that we'd like to have this ordinance reconsidered. It was revamped in 2011, I believe. They grandfathered quite a few people in. My husband is disabled. I am the sole supporter of my family. We can't afford to park it someplace else but in my own driveway. And I would like the board to reconsider and see if we can get some sort of allowance. It says you guys qualify for the ADA law, whatever it's going to take, but I'd like to be able to leave it in my own yard and not pay $150 a month to park it in some city parking lot where I have no control of it except to stop by and visit. That's all I have.
Kelly, have you had a chance to talk with our code enforcement officer?
Yes, I have. They did tell me that I had to appeal it, and it's $480 for me to appeal it. I don't have that kind of money. I don't know what I'm going to do with it if I have to move it. But in order for me to go and fight it or appeal it or dispute it, it's going to cost my family $480. I don't know what to do at this point. Again, I'd like you to reconsider the law. I brought you some photos. I'd be happy to email them to you. Like I said, I'm at the dead end of the street. I'm the very last house of a dead end. We're parked up against the city's wall. I'm 15 feet at least back from the sidewalk. I don't feel that my motorhome is unsightly or offensive. And I don't know what to do at this point. I'm looking for some guidance from the council here and the city mayor.
Well, I did receive the correspondence that you sent me and I forwarded to the code enforcement officer, but I would be open to revisiting this if my fellow council members are open to that.
We've had this before several times, Pat and I being some of the oldest here. What is the neighborhood that you live in?
Rancho Verde. It's I-5 and Hood Franklin, basic area, Franklin and Bilby.
So it's one of the newer areas?
Correct.
So I would, typically there's some pretty strict CCNRs.
When I talked to the code enforcer regarding the CCNRs, he said that they're not concerned about that. They're just concerned about the code enforcement.
I understand, but the people who moved into those neighborhoods expected the same level of cooperation from their neighbors based on the CCNRs.
If it was unsightly and offensive, I would agree.
So
I don't see the problem. I'm not blocking anything. Like I said, I am at the end of the street. I think it should be done on an individual basis versus a whole neighborhood. There's nowhere in Elk Grove you can park your motorhomes or RVs or boats, jet skis, unless you can get them behind. If the city'd like to move that fence, I'd be happy to pay for it and put a slab there and put it back behind the wall, but there's just not enough room in any of the subdivision. And that's kind of where we are in a tough spot like that.
So I'd be willing to take a look at it because I think we have a majority of new eyes than since the last time we visited this issue.
I appreciate
But
that.
when we did visit the issue and grandfather those folks in, that was because they had been parking their RVs in the driveway prior to cityhood. But I just want to explain something to you about how our process works. The only reason code enforcement ever came out to your neighborhood was because they received a complaint. They are reactive, not proactive. And so
Agreed.
somebody in your neighborhood does think it is unsightly or offensive.
Well, I'm not sure if it was mine in particular, but someone complained about, and as they did, they do a drive-by through the neighborhood, is what I was told. So I'm not sure if it's specifically mine. There was one in the general vicinity that was hanging over the sidewalk. I agree. It shouldn't be blocking the city sidewalks. But like I said, I'm 15 feet back from the sidewalk. Our house sits back quite a far, and we have a half-moon driveway. And we've poured extra concrete just for this particular reason, so it wouldn't be anywhere near the street. If you drive down the two side streets that are parallel to my home, you can't even see it because of the city wall that's already parked there. It's just the fence that's at the end of, I mean, they won't let me put up a fence. I've even asked if I could put up a temporary fence while it was parked there. That would be removable, and that was a violation as well.
I'm willing to take a look at the ordinance, but Kelly, I will say that, you know, policy is very difficult to craft on individual cases. So we're going to have to find some real extenuating circumstances, at least in my opinion, if we're going to entertain this. Because
Sure.
if you know, if we do it for you, everybody else might have a similar position that they feel is not a nuisance as well. So, and to Councilman
Correct.
Hume's point, somebody obviously did feel it was unsightly, otherwise they wouldn't have been, code enforcement wouldn't have been out there, so. But I am happy to take a look at it.
I don't know if there's a neighbor having a dispute with a neighbor that happened to have a motorhome or a trailer. I'm the only motorhome in the whole subdivision. I don't know if someone had a dispute with a neighbor that has a trailer and thought, watch this, I'll call on you. And like they said, they don't come out looking for us, but someone did call on a trailer parked in our subdivision.
Okay. I'm hearing a majority.
Okay, I think we have a consensus, so we'll probably bring it back and you'll be notified.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your
All right,
time.
thank you, ma'am. Next speaker is Ed Owen.
Before Ed comes up, or as he's coming up, can we have code enforcement stay any enforcement actions until we consider this item?
Mayor, council members, vice mayor. I want to start out by saying thank you for Operation Crosswalk. I'm sure my grandkids feel a lot safer. It's an emotional thing for me. But now, back to the old Ed, or the mean Ed, or the ugly Ed. One of the things that I've been sitting back, and when I come in, the first thing I do is check my cell phones. I make sure that my cell phone, and I have two, and both of them are off. And I don't sit back there and text and look up at the diocese and text a little bit more. And I see council members sometimes using their phones, texting and reading emails. And when I'm up here, I like to be heard. I like to pay attention to what I'm saying. It may not always agree with it, but at least pretend you do. And I think when I see people in the audience texting, looking up, texting, looking around, and then messages coming up here, it's all apparent, and it's all perception. I think we need to have some respect for the citizens and for the people in the audience. If you have an emergency at home, I think the city clerk could take that message and send you a little email across your screen to tell you that you have an issue. So it's all about perception, it's about respect, and I just want to make sure that I bring that up, because sometimes right before a vote, I see two guys or two council members off into the bathrooms or back rooms. So I want to make sure that there's not something going on that we, the citizens, aren't aware of. Now, again, it's perception. I'm not accusing anyone, but you guys don't need to have two guys. You're all adults up there. So please have some respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Our next speaker is Tracy Craighead, and after Tracy is former Mayor Sophia Sherman.
Hello. Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Tracy Craighead. I wanted to put a face with a name. I'm the general manager for MB. I replaced Terrence Thompson at E-Tran. Some of you already know that. I've been with E-Tran for 8 years, worked my way from the bottom to the top, and I just wanted you guys to see me and have my face with a name. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, I provided my contact information, which I believe has been provided to you. So going forward, if you guys have anything, any questions or anything, please give me a call.
Tracy, appreciate you coming. It actually got brought up in my briefing on Monday, and I think that's what may have spurred this along, because I hadn't heard who the replacement was. And so when I found that out, they made a recommendation that they were going to talk to you about coming. So
Great.
I really appreciate that, because it's a lot easier having a name with a face. And so when I send you positive or negative emails, and you the same, you get an opportunity to see all of us and kind of figure out all of our demeanors and everything else. So
I look
thank you.
forward to the long relationship. Yeah, it's nice to meet all of you. And congratulations on your election and your win. And congratulations to you as well, Mayor. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anything I can do for you tonight?
Thank you for coming out. It's
You
good to
bet.
see you.
All right, thanks a lot. You have a good night.
Sophia Sherman. Following Sophia is Carolyn Soares.
Good evening, Mayor, and congratulations on your election and the re-election of Darren and the appointment of Stephanie, and did I miss someone? Steve. He's over there smiling like, okay. I just wanted to speak before you today just to tell you how excited I am to have Stephanie on the council. You know, like she said in her speech earlier, that it's been 5 years. Well, it's not that I'm going to be mean to anybody, but this council has been unbalanced. I feel now with Stephanie on there, you have a well-balanced council, and I can see great things you guys doing together. And with Stephanie, I've known her for a few years, and I know she brings forth oh my gosh, a wealth of information and experience. She is a team player, I can tell you that for sure. So again, I just wanted to say congratulations and welcome, and I am thrilled to see you sitting up there, in my old spot, actually. Thank you so very much.
Good to see you. Thank you, ma'am. Carolyn Soares. Following Carolyn is Michael Manaski.
Hi, and welcome, Stephanie, to the council. Glad to see you here. I just wanted to speak on the MOU, because I know that's not part of the casino. Pat recused himself from the casino, but not the MOU. I just had a couple of comments on it. I'm thinking if we get to the position where we can modify the MOU, or if the tribe comes back with hopefully a smaller, lower scale casino in a better location, if you redo that MOU. I'm confused on all your paperwork, you're saying that the proposed casino is north of the mall and on an area that's not developed. But yet, in the MOU, we're collecting from the tribe $10,469,711 for road improvements. And that's for Grant Line Road, Lots Parkway, Camera Road, an interchange, a White Lock interchange, which would be up to 20 million. So I'm not quite sure how you got that $10 million. But what I was really questioning is in the MOU on page 5, you have where we're going to give a credit against that $10 million of $2,274,118 for the tribe to demolish the 4 of the buildings that are part of the now mall. It just seemed odd to me that we'd be giving them a credit to demolish 4 buildings, and such a huge amount, $2.25 million. Also, on the MOU, you have a lot of things listed in there, like no gambling for anyone under 21 years of age. We have recycling and green waste diversion, on-site electronic signage, and where did that come from? I vividly remember when the Auto Mall came in, they wanted a electronic sign, and there's like, no way, we don't want that for Elk Grove, but we have one for the casino. Elk Grove hiring, job fairs, discounts, security personnel, and all that. Prostitution isn't mentioned in here. And I'm not trying to insinuate that they would ever legalize that. I know it would be possible because they're a sovereign nation and all that. But we do have a problem with that in Elk Grove. As an Uber driver, just broadcast and made nationwide news. We don't have anything in the MOU saying, hey, can you train your employees to watch out for that potential? Or, you know, the security cameras, maybe a lot of people going in and out of one room or another. That's it. Thank you.
So Carolyn, since you called out that I am actually, excuse me, I'm fighting a little throat thing, since I can discuss this portion of what's gone on, with respect to the roadway fees, the $10 million figure would be the quote fair share for the project that they're proposing. The $2 million credit was the amount of fees that were paid for the buildings that are there that are going to be torn down. So fees were paid, in a sense, for buildings that won't be used. So that's why there's a credit on there.
Does that have to do anything with the $15 million that we're going to be paying Hughes Corporation back out of sales tax proceeds?
I don't believe so, no.
That is a separate payment, and that payment is only if they open the mall on time.
And Carol, I believe that the demolition credit goes with the property, no matter who the property owner was. So if the Howard Hughes Corporation did the demo, they would have gotten the money.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that.
You bet.
Okay. Thank you.
Mike Manaski, and following Mr. Manaski is Kirtland Stout.
This isn't a city council, it's a business firm that has hijacked our local democracy. 3 times now, they've arranged appointment of their colleague's successor over the will of the people. They're badasses, like biker punks who French kiss each other at the bar, flashing knives and pointing guns at all comers. Their mode of governance is proto-dactyl. Make no mistake, they are the rough trade of local politics, sporting their fake leather jackets emblazoned with colors from their sponsors. I'm going to talk about 3 of those colors. The number 13. In this chamber, this firm, not a council, defied the law and risked suits from the pot lobby for violating Prop 64. Consigliere Hobbs failed to meet the January 26th or 16th deadline for the bill. It's going to cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments to the consigliere's firm, Kronik Moskowitz, of which he's a shareholder, to settle this faux pas. 1%, that's another patch that thugs wear, are acknowledged with great glee by this firm. They themselves are pledges only, prospective wannabes outside that club. The firm may taste the flavors of power of their wealthy sponsors, but that's all. The 69 patch, they earned that by redirecting $6 million in taxpayer drainage funds to purchase 100 acres of prime farmland outside the city limits. Meanwhile, Wilton's flooded 3 times in the last 45 days. So we're going to spend, $6 million to do that. And the firm's plans to to build a Major League Soccer stadium on the site have gone the way of the private water park and world-class civic center, which is to say these are further wasted taxpayer-funded expenditures on pricey, shelved, dust-collecting studies. Government by punks, gangsters, and thugs can only end badly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Kirtland Stout.
While they're coming up, Mayor and council members, if I correct a misstatement, I am not a shareholder at Chronic Moskovitz. As the council knows, I came in-house as your employee last summer. I have no financial interest at all in Chronic Moskovitz. I have no shares with the firm.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to stand up and speak to you again. As I mentioned last time I was here, I talked about the business case and why I think it's a poor one. I would like to dwell for a couple of minutes now on what I would call the moral case against the casino, or the decision to move forward with a casino should not be about money or jobs or real estate values or a mall that never should have been planned and built in the first place. It's about what kind of people we are and what kind of community we want. For many years, we've heard our neighbors' expressions of regret about how the city has become too large, too impersonal, too commercial, has lost the hometown feel. I think approving a casino in Elk Grove would be an indication that we no longer even want that hometown feel and no longer even care about what kind of community we live in. A casino is nothing more than a well-organized way to merchandise on people's vices and weaknesses. Gambling is highly addictive. Gamblers' anonymous messages should tell us that many people get caught in that trap. Gambling leaves a trail of heartbreak, vice, and misery in its wake, and it very efficiently separates people from their money. Worst of all, the community approving of a gambling institution institutionalizes and puts the community's stamp of approval on the exploitation of human weakness. It's human nature to talk about winning and to hide our losses. Hence, we hear only about the lottery winners when we're talking lottery or gamblers, and never about the massive numbers of losers. Hence, people will talk about their winnings but remain silent about their losses, which will result in sending a message, especially to the youth, that winning in life, especially being a function, instead of being a function of work, sacrifice, and thrift, is a function of just getting lucky. Gambling establishments do the same thing. They go on endlessly about those few who were lucky and won, while remaining silent about the thousands who lost to fund those few winnings. A casino is a magnet for all other vices and changes the very nature of the community around it. When government furthers the interests of a gambling syndicate, it sends the message that gambling, long considered a vice, is preferred above other businesses. I have owned 3 businesses in California, started up 2 of them, and on no occasion did the city or federal government promote or help my businesses. I had to make it on my own. And lastly, the federal government in Washington, D.C. should not be dictating the matters of our local community 3,000 miles away. This is our city. I say let's take it back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. I see that there's no one else signed up for public comment.
Mayor, we do have a few folks that are still signing up, I believe.
Okay. Okay, I see it. Mr. Kyle Beckman. Following Mr. Beckman is Suzanne Pesci.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor Lee, and congratulations, Councilwoman Stephanie Wynn, on your appointment. I'm just going to talk really quickly to follow up what was just spoken about. I grew up in Esparto, where the Cache Creek Casino is, and I've been asked, really, how was that and growing up there, and how'd that benefit the Capay Valley? Really, it was one of the greatest things financially to happen to Capay Valley. And ABC 10 actually just, when we're talking about morals, ABC 10 just did a story on February 1st, which they said after evaluating both Thunder Valley, Cache Creek Casino, and the Red Hawk Casino, and I believe maybe even Jackson Rancheria, that no substantial crime was gained by construction of the casino after it was implemented in all of those regions. So when people talk about morals and crime and prostitution and things of that nature, a lot of these are just moral boogeymen that actually haven't come into fruition. So I would like to say on behalf of my valley, growing up in Esparto, it was tremendous to us. It kept our schools from having roofs fall down. It kept fresh coats of paint on our schools. It helped with philanthropy and charity in our community. And it was the one thing that actually kept my town alive when it was dying. So I just want to say that I'm very proud for the Wilton Rancheria tribe in pushing for a casino, and I think it would be wonderful for Elk Grove. And I've been, like I've said before, I've heard all of these arguments back when the Cache Creek Casino was being debated, and most of it did not come to fruition. So I just wanted to say once again that I support the Wilton Rancheria and all of their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckton. Our next speaker is Suzanne Pesci. Looks like that's our last speaker.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Suzanne Pesci, and I'm a 40-year resident of Elk Grove in East Elk Grove on a domestic well. And last regular meeting, I spoke about my opinion that the casino is not under any water plan in our region. It is not under the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority's recently filed water plan with DWR. It is not under the Elk Grove Urban Water Plan because the casino was outside of the Elk Grove Water District boundaries. It is not included in Zone 40 planning, which is a planning agency for the sale of wholesale water, not in their plan. Because the DEIS and the EIS don't contain a service agreement, we really don't know how much this casino is actually going to use in water for water per day. One estimate is 100,000 gallons per day. Another in the feasibility study is 400,000 gallons per day. And because there is no service agreement, we really can't verify the amount of water or the fact that this casino will ever be hooked up to public water. And the same goes for sewer. Since we all know that a single-story mall is not a 12-story, 200-room casino with spa that operates 24 hours a day, then certainly we all understand that the water needs for a mall and a 24-hour casino differ greatly, as well as the wastewater collection and outflow from a casino, not comparable to a mall. And although the FEIS and the DEIS speaks to the need for development agreements between these county agencies, there are no agreements attached to the environmental documents. In the feasibility study, it speaks to the possibility of putting domestic wells on site at this casino in case the cost is prohibitive, and the feasibility for connecting into public water are not there. I would assume the same would go for wastewater. And I guess I'm thinking, just what would this look like then? How much room does this take up? Is this actually what's going to be there in place of a mall? And if in fact if this is what's needed, then we should be talking about that. If you can't substantiate, if the documents don't substantiate any agreements with public agencies for either sewer or wastewater, then certainly we should be talking about other alternatives, and that alternatives would be on-site water and some type of a package septic waste system. We know that the plans that are in the DEIS are for them all. All of them have to be upgraded and re-engineered, but yet there are no development agreements that would substantiate these are going to be upgraded. So I think these are some things that we need to think about. This should be the carrot that we're dangling instead of the mall. How about an on-site water and septic system? We need to investigate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pesci, and thank you for correcting me. Next item, please. Oh, actually, before we get there, let's, seeing that there are no additional speakers, let's go ahead and close public comment, and we can move to the next item.
That'd be section 6, our general administration information.
Thank you. Mayor and council members, one, just to let everyone know that Public Works has initiated closure of Camera Road due to flooding. And this closure is between Bruceville Road and Lint Ranch Parkway. This area was closed for nearly a week following the last series of winter storms. Access for residents and emergency vehicles remain open, and we will be issuing notifications via social media platforms. Also, we'd like to tell you about the posting of the Police Department Policy Manual, and I'm going to have Chief Noblett talk to you about that.
Thank you, Laura. Mayor Lee, council members, it's just a brief announcement. I wanted to let you and the public know that in the interest of being transparent and informative, our plan is effective tomorrow. We will begin posting our policy manual on our website. There will be a button on the website that you can click on that will link you directly into the policy listing. Likewise, you can type in, and I'll give a URL here for folks so that you can get straight to the policy manual if you have no interest in viewing any other content. That is www.elkgrovepd.org/policy. Just wanted to let you all know that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Also, the police department is launching its Pause on Patrol program with the kickoff meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here in the City Council chambers. This program is closely patterned after Neighborhood Watch and attempts to harness the power of Elk Grove residents who are out walking their dogs by training them to identify and report suspicious activity in their neighborhood. Please contact our Crime Prevention Division in the Police Department for more information. Also, for those that are interested in applying for our Community Development Block Grant, Community Services Grant, and event sponsorship grants, we have the online applications open for funding for the fiscal year starting July 1. There is a technical assistance workshop and public meeting for those interested in Community Development Block Grant and Community Service Grants, which will be held tomorrow at 2:30 here in the council chambers. Those applications are due Wednesday, February 22nd. Event sponsorship grants that support local nonprofit events is also available online, and the deadline for those applications is March the 5th. We're presenting before the Impact Educational Program this Saturday, February 11th at 9 o'clock here in council chambers. This 90-minute program educates teens and adults on the effects of distracted driving. This is a free event and seating is limited, and we ask that those that are interested in attending contact Misty Daly, our Community Services Officer in charge of this program in the police department, to reserve your spot. And there'll be additional presentations offered throughout the year. A reminder that citizens and residents can put in your 2 cents about the city's budget process. We have a $500 funding challenge on the Open City Hall online forum that's available on the city's website for citizens to take advantage of. Also, we have 2 online sessions that have been recorded and are available on the city's Facebook page to take a look at. If folks have questions from what they see on that recording, they can type their questions into the comments, and we will get back to you with an answer to those questions. Also, to let you know that budget staff is outside with 3 computers out tonight, so that if residents that have attended this meeting tonight would like to go and put their input on the $500 budget challenge, we have the ability for them to participate just outside in the foyer. Also, on Sunday night, there's a special Elk Grove night at the Kings game at Golden One Center. Discount tickets benefiting the Elk Grove Food Bank can be purchased through the city's website, and it'll feature the Kings taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. The game begins at 6 o'clock. Also, folks can get to the game on light rail for free from the Franklin light rail station. If folks show their tickets at the Elk Grove booth at that station, they'll receive a complimentary pass to ride light rail to the Golden One Center, plus another complimentary transit pass back. Go visit gosacrt.com for more information. And lastly, in accordance with city holidays, City Hall will be closed on Monday, February 20th in observance of President's Day. Moving to the standing citywide initiatives update with the Civic Center site, design work on all Phase 1 projects is currently underway. With regard to this Capital Southeast Connector, the Grant Line Waterman DeMosier, the city's consultant has started coordinating the design work with the adjacent JPA design section. With the Camera Road Widening Extension Project, staff will provide the City Council with an update on the project schedule at the next meeting here on February 22nd. With regard to the Railroad Avenue property in Old Town, the City Council approved the environmental document and design on January 11th. The Phase 1 restroom plans were advertised February 3rd. Staff is also preparing a separate maintenance contract to resurface the existing paved areas, which will be advertised February 10th, with work completed before May. With that, completes my report for this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions? No? Seeing that there are none, let's start with council report. Councilman Soon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to say Happy Lunar New Year and Happy African American History Month, and month of February as well. I want to congratulate our new council member, Stephanie Nguyen. Glad to have you on board. Attended the Library Authority. Since we last met, our Library Authority meeting, our beat meeting for Districts 1, 2, and 4, and end of watch with Councilman Detrick and Mayor Lee to view a video about officers who are involved in shootings. It's a pretty moving, I should say movie, not video, and hope all of you get a chance to watch it someday. I had the opportunity to participate and moderate a town hall here in the council chambers with Mayor Lee, Supervisor Natoli, Vice Mayor Detrick in the audience, and obviously Congressman Barra. And attended our SHACOG Land Use and Natural Resources Committee meeting, and finally attended our last 2 budget town halls. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, we just at 4 o'clock today, we had our annual audit meeting, and very, very good shape. The budget, I believe, has that been put up online yet, Laura? Brad?
Yeah, it's online.
Yeah, so that's been put up online for anybody who has an interest in seeing that. And one of the things I always talk with the auditors about to basically score how we've done as a city and our financial team, and they gave them a B+. So always a little room for improvement. Brad, maybe we'll pull an A out one of these days, but you're pretty darn close. Councilman Soon already mentioned a couple of the events that we jointly went to. Was here for the beat meetings. There was 2 different ones. Attended both of those. Chief Noblet and his team do a phenomenal job not only with the presentation, but what they do day in and day out to not only watch all of your backs, but they watch our back too. So make sure all of you guys are watching their back. The Sacramento Metro Cable Commission meeting was canceled for this month. And was at the Consumnes Fire Department held their annual crab feed. It's crab feed season. I think just about every weekend there's one or two crab feeds around the area. But it's always great to see our firefighters, the counterparts to our PDs. So make sure you guys always thank our public safety teams. And then last, welcome to the new council member. Welcome aboard.
Councilman Hume.
Thank you, Mayor. Attended the paratransit board meeting last Thursday. And the only major announcement to come out of that meeting is that we announced the hiring of Tiffany Fink as the new CEO of paratransit. So Elk Grove's former transit director is now the CEO at paratransit. Attended the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority meeting down in Stockton last Friday. Two things to report out of that. One, we took a look at the numbers again, and it shows that the station most desired by ridership, this is heavy rail now, Amtrak, is the Elk Grove station. And by far, I mean, it's not even close. And so a lot of that is Elk Grove residents that I think would like to make that connection, but I think there's also a growing number of people who are coming up from points farther south that recognize it's about Elk Grove where the traffic starts to get really bad, where they would like to jump off the freeway and utilize a train to take the rest of the trip in town. So working hard on trying to make that a reality, even if we have to build some sort of interim station improvement just to start getting that into the mindset that we have that connection made. And I'll be putting together a meeting with the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority staff, their public affairs team, as well as our city staff to discuss that moving forward. I attended the special city council meeting last Thursday where this fine person was chosen to sit up here. She asked me before the meeting, is it okay to leave my purse on the dais when we go into closed session? And I said, I don't know. It's been so long since we had to worry about someone who has a purse. But I think you're okay. And then attended the audit committee meeting with Councilmember Detrick today where we received the comprehensive annual financial report as well as this year's annual report to the community. If you have not taken a look at this, it's a very valuable, succinct, and very valuable bit of information that shows where the city's money comes from and where it goes and what our priorities are. And then finally, I had a meeting with Councilmember Soon and the mayor of Roseville today to discuss some regional city strategies. But she and I were chatting for a minute ahead of time, and she was telling us about the effectiveness of their police cameras. And these are not red light cameras, they're the cameras like the city of Sacramento employs that are constantly recording at major intersections. And so if I can get council concurrence, I would like to have the chief come back with a presentation on the cost and effectiveness of having something like that. And she said the biggest thing is that if a crime happens, they're able to determine by checking these major intersections of where the suspect fled.
I think it's an excellent item, and I know that the chief has talked about that there's a model now that goes right into the photocell receptacle on the street lights. You just pop that out, pop this. I think you said they're about $1,500 a piece, something like that.
Yeah, roughly in that area, and that's actually, I appreciate you asking about that, Councilmember Hume. I had planned to come back at some point anyway, just to give you some information, get some guidance on that. We do have some strategies in place to increase our video footprint, if you will, throughout the city, in addition to creating a room here on site where we would deliver those feeds and be able to do some real-time monitoring. So those plans are in the works, and I'd be happy to come back with with an update on that and with some to get some direction relative to, it could be a large project, so it'd be helpful to know what our parameters might be going forward.
Well, I would support that, and also ask maybe we add into it. I understand the city of Sacramento does also microphones at certain intersections to triangulate if they hear whether it's a weapons fired or something like that. Maybe add to see what that would be to add to that.
Yeah, that's correct. And the one product that we've looked at recently actually does plug into the top of a light pole. It's a standard socket on the top of a light pole for the purpose of being able to put the sensor in there. And these cameras actually take the place of the sensor, so they provide video, obviously, but they also still operate as the sensor, so the light still operates properly. They do have some sound monitoring capability, and you can actually network these units, so you can create a grid, if you will, of connected units that does provide for some sound monitoring. And what, occasionally vendors tell you their product will do things that, and we have to find out whether that's actually accurate or not. But in this case, the vendor did report that you could network those units and have it set to detect gunshot sounds, et cetera. So that technology is definitely out there.
Great, thank you. And then finally, the last couple things is this Friday night, I will be emceeing the Committee for the Arts classical music concert at the Falls Event Center. It is sold out, unfortunately, a little over 300 people going to attend, but it's a wonderful sampling of operettas by some very talented local artists, and I just love seeing a little more culture come to town. So, and then the last thing is I hope that those of you that will be attending the Elk Grove Night at the Kings will join me on riding light rail. As was mentioned, you can get complimentary tickets at the Cosumnes Franklin Regional Transit light rail station, and there are 2 trains, one departing roughly 4:30 and one departing roughly 4:50 that will get you to the game on time. Thank you.
Excellent. Councilwoman Nguyen.
Thank you. It's been a while since you had to say the word councilwoman
Absolutely,
or
ma'am.
heard that here. One of the things that is a little bittersweet for me is that being appointed to this, I'd have to step down from 2 of the boards or commissions that I sit on. One of them is the Juvenile Justice Commission, and the other one is probably the Sheriff's Advisory Community Board, Council Board, where you are the bridge that connects the Sheriff's Department with the community. And those are such great organizations or boards to be a part of. And so I'd be happy to, if anybody is interested in sharing more about that and maybe putting your name forward for those positions. One of the things that I've been new to is Align Capital Region, which is a regional approach to pull together businesses, education, employment, and young people together to ensure that they have successful track, a successful pattern, a successful roadmap, if you will. And this Aligned Capital Region has gotten folks together from the entire region. I was able to sit in with Sue Hubbard, who is with the Elk Grove Unified School District, and putting a video shoot together to talk about how we can all come together to support our young people and ensuring that they have a workforce development skill that's going to make them successful. So be sure to look for that as we represent our city. I also was able to attend a meeting where the City of Sacramento mayor has put together an initiative to ensure that 500 young people are going to be able to receive internships. And representing Elk Grove, 2 of the schools in which he named was Florin High School and Valley High School, which is within the Elk Grove city. And so I'll be working with them on those.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Had the privilege of joining Elk Grove Forward and presenting a foundation check, or a check to the foundation of the Tri-Motors. This is the famous antique that is from the Indiana Jones film that still flies. One of the other things that I like to add in regards to the officer-involved training video that was presented by the End of Watch, from a social service worker standpoint, I thought that was pretty profound. Oftentimes we wonder what goes to the officer's mind and what he or she experiences, and I just want to say that film tells it all. And I left that that viewing having a greater appreciation for what goes through the officer's mind when that unfortunate incident does occur. And to those brave men and women that continues to serve and protect, bless all of you. Had the opportunity to also visit one of the detox house, Diamond House, got their perspective and got some insights on some of the services they provide. This is, as the Vice Mayor indicated, crab feed season. I participated in a number, but one I wish to highlight is the Carroll crab feed. A number of these elementary schools, they have shortfalls, and for many of you who hear my call, I'd like to encourage folks to participate in that and assist some of these teachers in some of these elementary schools in our school district and within our city limits. had the privilege of running into a number of officers in Operation Crosswalk, as Mr. Owen had mentioned earlier. And I really wanted to commend the chief and his crew for doing this, because I know that this was generated within the police department, and I was pleasantly surprised that on this particular day, in front of my local elementary school, everyone was in compliance. So, you know, I hope that you have the resources to continue this, but certainly the parents enjoyed it completely. Had the privilege of also participating, as Councilman Sun mentioned, the town hall with Congressman Barra. Very informative, and we received a number of questions and comments from the community. And between Councilman Sun and myself, we're coordinating with staff to get a response to each and every one of them. So that is it for me. Next item.
Take us to section 8, our consent calendar items.
Okay, we have a consent calendar item. I see one speaker signed up, Suzanne Pecci.
And sorry, that's left over, Mayor, so
Oh, is that right?
I don't
Okay.
believe Suzanne Pecci. I don't think you're signed up, Ms. Pecci, but
No?
yeah, sorry about that, Mayor.
Okay. That being the case, we have a consent calendar. I want to close public comment since there's no other, and I'm open for a motion.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to go ahead and abstain from item number 8.1, 8.2, and 8.4. 8.1 is in regards to the minutes. I was not yet on the council yet. 8.2 and 8.4 talks about police purchases, law enforcement grants. And while there is no conflict in talking to our city attorney, I did not want there to be an even appearance of a bias, and therefore I'd like to go ahead and abstain from those
Okay,
items.
duly noted for the record. Councilwoman Nguyen has abstained from 8.1, 8.2, and 8.4. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the rest has been moved and passed. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just chime in on Councilmember Nguyen's comments. The reason that there is no conflict of interest there, there's no reasonably foreseeable impact on her finances or her financial interests. However, as she stated, out of an abundance of caution, she's decided to recuse herself on that item, and it could happen again in the future on items on the agenda tonight or going forward. But to be clear, it's not a disqualifying conflict of interest. It's just simply being done as a cautionary measure.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes. Oh, we didn't take a vote. All right, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstention?
Aye.
As noted earlier. All right, next item.
That'll take us to section 9, our public hearings, which is starting with item 9.1. This is actually 4 public hearings to consider the 40th annexation to CFD 2003-2 for police services, the 40th annexation to CFD 2006-1 for maintenance services, 31st annexation to Street Maintenance District 1, Zone 3T, and the 15th annexation to Stormwater Drainage Fee Zone 2.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I am Kara Taylor Seaman, the Finance Analyst with the City of Elk Grove. I do have a presentation for the public hearing of the Emerald Park Estates that I am happy to present. If you would like to waive that, I can do that as well and just answer your questions.
I'm happy to waive.
We have a waive.
I'm happy to waive, but I just want to note for the record that Emerald Park Estates has nothing to do with Emerald Park, my employer.
I'm willing to waive it.
Okay, we have consensus.
Okay,
Any
thank you.
questions? No? No questions?
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Want to declare the public hearing for CFT 2003-2 open. And I want to open to the public an opportunity to speak. Seeing that there are no speakers, is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
That is correct. There are no speakers signed up on this item.
Okay, want to close public comment. I want to declare a public hearing for 2003-2 closed and entertain motions.
I'll move motion number 1.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstention? Oppose?
I'm going to go ahead and abstain with this one too, 9.1, because it talks about police services.
Okay. For the record, the Councilwoman Nguyen is abstaining. All right, I'll entertain second motion.
got a request tabulation.
I'll hop in there. So for the tabulation of the results of 16 possible votes, 16 affirmative votes were cast authorizing the city of Elk Grove to levy a special tax at the rate apportioned and described. Measure passes with more than 2/3 of all votes cast in the election in favor of the measure. Resolution declaring the results of the election is available for council consideration. And I'll just note the next motion and the next motion for the ordinance are also for the same police services, CFD 2003-2, which will note the abstention by council member Wayne.
Okay. Move motion A2.
Second.
Got a motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Councilmember Wayne, right? Okay.
Move motion A3, introduce and waive full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance levying the apportionment of the special tax in territory annexed to the Community Facilities District Number 2003-2, Police Services, Annex Number 40, and amending the Elk Grove Municipal Code, Section 3.18.010.
Second. Got a motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
That would be me, aye.
All right. Second public hearing, CFD 2006-1. Want to declare the public hearing open for CFD 2006-1. Want to open public comment, seeing that there are no individuals signed up to speak. Want to close public comment, and want to declare public comment hearing for CFD 2006-1 closed.
Move motion B1.
Second.
Got a motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Of the 16 possible votes, 16 affirmative votes were cast authorizing the city of Elk Grove to levy a special tax at the rate apportioned and described. Measure passes with more than 2/3 of all votes cast in the election in favor of the measure. A resolution declaring the results of the election is available for council consideration.
Move motion B2.
Got a motion? Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Motion B3, introduce and waive the full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance levying and apportioning the special tax in territory annexed to Community Facilities District Number 2006-1, Maintenance Services, annexation number 40, and amending Elk Grove Municipal Code, Section 3.19.010.
Second.
Got a motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Third public hearing is SMD 1 Zone 3-T. Want to declare the public hearing open. Want to open for public comment, seeing that there are no speakers. Want to close public comment. Want to declare public hearing for SMD 1 Zone 3-T closed. Want to request the clerk to provide results of the ballot tabulation.
There is no majority protest of the 16 possible votes weighted according to the proportional financial obligation for each equivalent dwelling unit. 16 affirmative votes were returned. The ballot approves the proposed assessment and the proposed inflation adjustment limit described for the parcels identified in the ballot. Resolution determining to levy assessments in the districts available for council consideration.
Move motion C.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? And fourth public hearing, SDF Zone 2, Annex 15. Want to declare public hearing open. Want to open the public comment opportunity, seeing that there are no speakers signed up. Want to close public opportunity. Want to declare the public hearing for SDF Zone 2 closed. Request that the clerk provide the results of the ballot tabulation.
And last, again, there is no majority protest of 16 possible votes weighted according to the proportional financial obligation for each equivalent dwelling unit. 16 affirmative votes were returned. Ballot approves the proposed assessment and the proposed inflation adjustment limit described for the parcel identified in the ballot. Resolution determining to levy assessments in the districts available for council consideration.
Move motion D.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Next item.
I'll take us to Section 10, our regular agenda action items and recommendations, starting with item 10.1, which is to consider the referendum petition directed to ordinance number 23-2016. As some background information to the City Council, on October 26, 2016, the City Council adopted ordinance 23-2016 titled that was adopting the First Amendment to the Development Agreement with Elk Grove Town Center LP. On November 21st, a referendum petition was directed at this ordinance. And just to go into a little bit of what the ordinance did is that the ordinance, the First Amendment to the Development Agreement, would remove the development agreement from would remove that from the property that's at the site, that folks are where the site for the casino is going. So the effect of the referendum petition against this ordinance would basically place the development agreement back onto the property. So the actions that were taken, the ordinance that the referendum petition that's directed back at would revert us back to how the development agreement would be placed back onto the property. When the referendum petition was filed against the ordinance, we went through the process and had that certified on January 11th, 2017. We brought this item. It was scheduled to come to the meeting at January 25th. We continued it to tonight's meeting. An element of, just to kind of set the stage for what a referendum petition is. A referendum petition is targeted at an ordinance passed by a legislative body. And what the referendum petition wants to do is it wants to repeal the ordinance. It's the first part of the action of what a referendum petition is asking. So in this instance, we have a referendum petition that has been certified, and the request is to repeal ordinance number 23, 2016, which basically what that would do is place that development agreement back onto the property because it would be rescinding this ordinance. If no action's taken by the city council in order to repeal this ordinance, what the referendum petition, because it is certified, what this would do is then ask if you're not going to repeal the ordinance, you'd push this out to an election. And that's the items that are out there. What is silent in the elections code is there's no timing as to when this has to happen. What the restrictions that come out is that the council can consider repeal of the ordinance, or if they don't repeal the ordinance, that they consider the matter at the next regular election. Our next regular election is the general election that would be held. In this case, it would be in November 2018. Where the staff report then takes off is giving you options tonight for how to address this referendum petition against the ordinance, which would place the development agreement back onto the property. And those options are outlined, and it's 4 options. The first being that you can repeal the ordinance. The next 2 options are varieties of calling an election, whether it's the second option is calling a special election, which we put just to frame the time frames and costs that would be involved with a special election. The third option being placing this matter on a regular, on our general election in November 2018. And of course, we still have the option, as I said, because we don't have any time constraints on this, that we could continue the matter to a future date. For the first option, the repeal of the ordinance would require an enacting ordinance to be introduced tonight, and then we would return that for adoption at the next regular city council meeting. That's included as attachment 1. Again, the effect of this repeal is that basically we would revert back to what ordinance was in effect previous to this action. So what this would do is revert back to the ordinance that's back from October of 2014 and place the area back to ordinance number 29, 2014. So the First Amendment was to remove the development agreement from the property. This would revert back and continue to have the development agreement on the property. Again, you have that decision to make the repeal. There's nothing that presses to make the decision tonight. What the timeframes that we'd be looking at is that if you were going, and as time unfolds, as we get closer to the November general election, it's about the August 2018 timeframe that we'd have to make a final decision on this matter. To that, there's the 2 next options are options for calling an election. So you have an option for a special election, and you also have the option, what we did for if you're consider putting this to the regular election, we would be well in advance of any actions to consolidate for the November 2018 election. What's proposed by staff under that third option is a resolution of intent, if that's the route that you want to take. We'd return back with a measure that addresses this item. And then, of course, the last option being that you can open this up and we can wait to make a decision. We could continue it to a different date. I did just want to note that the environmental review was done on this item. So the repeal of Ordinance 23, 2016 would reinstate those terms of the development agreement back onto the property. And that was approved by a prior ordinance in which environmental review had already been conducted. So we don't have any secret review on that front. Additionally, when you look at the repeal of the ordinance, if that's an action that the council is going to pursue, that doesn't constitute approval of a project. It's not under CEQA review. And the same, if you're going to submit this as a question to the public, there wouldn't be any CEQA review on that front. The staff report goes into the details on some of the costs that would be involved with some of these actions. Of course, going from the repeal of an ordinance, pretty standard procedure that we have for having an ordinance put in the record and public noticing. It's a cost that's picked up by the city clerk's office. As we get into talking about elections, there's escalating costs depending if we do a special election or if we're able to consolidate this with the general municipal election. Other than that, I'm available for questions from the city council.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't want to interrupt the city clerk because he was giving that very detailed background, but as I've done up to this point, I'm going to recuse myself from this item.
Okay.
Mayor?
Thank you, Councilman.
Question.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, so, first of all, I've heard the voice of the people. There's no question about that. And so, I've said it before, I was more inclined to repeal this, but wanted to hear the legalities that went on that we discussed at the last meeting. And have it revert, the development agreement, revert back to what the Howard Hughes Corporation's property, what they previously owned and what they currently own at the mall site. And if John could maybe expand on it a little bit, how the development agreement is relative to the Howard Hughes Corporation is who our development agreement is with.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Detrick. The development agreement is with the Howard Hughes Corporation. It's actually with a subsidiary of them called Elk Grove Town Center, but for purposes of this discussion, I'll refer to the parent company as the Howard Hughes Corporation. And essentially what happened a couple of years ago is Howard Hughes applied for a development agreement to put on the property roughly 100 acres, which gives them entitlements on the entire site. A few months back, they applied to the city to amend that development agreement. Howard Hughes Corporation did that and asked that a portion of the development agreement, the entitlements that they had on the site, be removed. The city and the city council accommodated that request of Howard Hughes Corporation and removed the development agreement as to about 35 acres on the site. That's the subject of what we're talking about tonight. I'll try not to repeat the detailed discussion of what the city clerk did. I think he did a nice job of explaining what was happening, but essentially the item on for tonight is whether or not you want to repeal the ordinance that was passed last fall, which have the effect of putting the development agreement of the Howard Hughes Corporation back onto the property, putting us back to the status quo we were. That's what the referendum petition asked for. And so if you want to accommodate that request, you can simply repeal the ordinance, put the development agreement of Howard Hughes back on the property. The other alternative is to go through the elections, in which case you would either choose a special or a general election. The last one, of course, is you could take no action tonight and move forward. I hope that answers your questions. I'm happy to address anything further on that or any other point.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Just for point of clarification, the referendum actually froze the decision that the council made. Thus, the council made the decision to remove the development agreement from the property, but the referendum, by being valid, froze it, so therefore
Correct.
it's still on the property.
Correct. Councilmember Seaman, thank you for that. Yes, you're correct. The development agreement was passed, and then anyone had an opportunity to file a referendum against that development agreement amendment. The effect of that referendum, once certified by the council, which was certified a couple of meetings ago, is it suspends the effectiveness of the ordinance, which has the effect of putting the development agreement of Howard Hughes back on the property temporarily until the referendum petition process has run its course, either through a repeal of the ordinance as requested by the referendum petition, or through an election where you put the question to the voters and as to whether or not they want to put the Howard Hughes development agreement back onto the property.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. At this point, I want to open to public comment. First speaker we have is David Kano. Following David is Damon Conklin.
No, David said he's good. He's shaking his head
Oh,
back.
good. Okay. Let's jump to Damon Conklin. After Damon is Kyle Beckman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members, and congratulations and welcome, Councilwoman Nguyen. We look forward to On behalf of the Sacramento Regional Builders Exchange and our 1,200 members, we look forward to working with you on workforce development programs and initiatives that enhance our industry and create shovel-ready jobs in the local area. First, we just would like to say that Sacramento Regional Builder Exchange continues to oppose any forward movement on a referendum petition. We wish to reiterate our support for the project and the City Council's approval to modify the development agreement that would allow the mall and entertainment and retail project to move forward. I'll keep my comments brief in the interest of time. So again, we are supportive of the project, and we are supportive of Wilton Rancheria and their efforts to construct this project moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kyle Beckman, and then Angela Perry.
Good evening again, Mayor Lee and council members. So the property interest in this actually has been, there has already been a record of decision of trust acquisition of the acreage for the city of Elk Grove for the Wilton Rancheria. It was signed by Lawrence Roberts, who is the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, on January 19th, 2017. The Stand Up for California has already received this, so I believe all parties have as well. So anyways, I'll submit this into record. In addition to that, we are now at step 11, which is to provide the notice of the decision. So under the handbook of the acquisition of title to land held in fee or restricted fee status, that opens it up now to an administrative proceeding, which all parties who have a right to appeal the record of decision now have 30 days to do so, if I understand the proceedings correctly. That said, though, this also is no longer a local jurisdiction issue. This is now a federal issue. By the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution and the Doctrine of Preemption, any move on this referendum that would take to deny the Wilton Rancheria, a tribe, of that land is now in conflict of federal action. So in addition to that, I urge the City Council to table this and watch as the federal government takes their proceedings and any parties of interest and their appeal process. I suggest that the City Council not move for a special election, which would be a $1.8 million political PR fiasco. So for a City Council that prides itself on having fiscal restraint, I urge you to reconsider and to table this and let the federal government play this out and let the federal courts play this out. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Angela Perry. Following Angela is Suzanne Pecci.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. First, I'd like to say congratulations, Ms. Nguyen. It was a pleasure getting to know you through the endorsement process, and we look forward to working with you. I'm Angela Perry, representing the Elk Grove Chamber of Commerce, and the Chamber's Board of Directors would like to convey its support of the Wilton Rancheria project. The Chamber strongly believes that this project will bring valued jobs to our city and retail and entertainment options to not only Elk Grove, but the greater Sacramento and even San Joaquin counties. Businesses from the broader region will use the meeting spaces and hotel rooms provided by the project, bringing much needed visibility. People will come a distance to attend concerts and other events, and they will stay and shop in Elk Grove. We also suspect, as recent news has indicated, that interest in the mall project will increase, with the neighboring resort progressing. While we understand the concerns of nearby families, we've all heard from law enforcement personnel in cities which currently have casinos that increased crime was minimal and that projects were a benefit to their communities. We believe the project vital to our city's economic vitality, and we look forward to working with the tribe to better our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker is Suzanne Pecci. Following Suzanne is Ed Owen. Suzanne Pecci, going once, twice. Suzanne Pecci. Come on down. Following Suzanne is Ed Owen.
Just briefly, I recommend that you repeal the ordinance, or the development agreement. You know, fiscal responsibility has stood in the way of even voting for council people, so I certainly can't see you spending money to put this on ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ed Owen. Following Ed is Jim Carroll.
Councilwoman Nguyen, congratulations. Glad to see a new face up there. First of all, you know, we talk about the money it's going to cost to do an election. I see in your report there's $900,000. So let's take a look at it. If this election is held during an odd year in November, the cost per person is going to be between $1.75, $3. So if we have 65,000 registered voters in the city of Elk Grove, that cost, if we wait until November 2018, will be about $195,000. If we hold an election via mail-in ballot, the cost is between $4 and $8. So if I took $6, the average cost, that would be $390,000. These are statistics that are pulled up from cities that have special elections, and this is kind of an average overall. So if we hold a special election at the polls, that cost can be between $8 and $10 a person. So again, that would be the max, based on the statistics that I've been able to achieve, would be about $650,000. Now, we've been asking to have, nothing against you, by the way, to vote for city council members. Had we joined these two together, the vote for the referendum and the city council member, you would have split the cost. So we should be voting because the outside influences for this casino continue to keep coming and popping up. And I see that the regional business group, I don't think, I've been in construction a long time, I don't see them getting all these wages that they're talking about, because they're going to bid these jobs and they're going to bring in people to work as cheap as they can. And they're not going to pay prevailing wages. They say they will, but I doubt it. So anyway, I want to ask you to repeal ordinance number 23-216 and give the people of Elk Grove the opportunity to vote. And if it passes then, hey, I'll be all in favor of it.
Ed, if you repeal it, then there'd be no vote.
Right. Wait a minute.
So you just said to repeal it and go to the vote. You can't do both.
Well, if you repeal it, then we have to wait till what?
No, if you repeal it, that's exactly what the referendum requested, and we would be accomplishing exactly what the referendum wanted.
Oh, well, okay. I don't want, I want it put back on the property is what I want.
With the repeal, that's exactly what would happen.
And that's exactly what would happen.
Yes.
And that's what I want. And then we wouldn't have to vote.
Correct.
And we wouldn't have to waste all that money.
Correct.
And if you vote the other way, then if you vote to keep, I'm confused a little bit, but thank you for correcting me. I just don't want the casino, I want the people to vote on the casino, so.
This isn't a vote on the casino.
We're not voting on the casino.
This is a vote on the development agreement
Well,
only. Has
that's-
nothing to
okay.
do with the casino.
Okay.
It's between the Howard Hughes Corporation and the city of Elk Grove.
Okay. Well, anyway, tell you what, save the money.
I
Just
agree.
Don't vote for it.
We agree.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Our next speaker is Jim Kale. Jim Kale. Following Jim is Jennifer Shia. Jim Kale. Following Jim is Jennifer Shia.
Good evening, Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor, and the Councilman. I'm here to ask you to repeal that ordinance. And the reason is very simple. We moved into the Elk Grove like 16 years ago. And if there was a casino was here, probably I wouldn't even think about it. So we have several choices by that time. And we even moved from different places. We keep in the Elk Grove because we love the city. It has recently has the expanded medical school and have those fantastic sports, the multiple, courts, the fantastic sports court. So, but recently I followed the SACP paper very carefully about this development. I was very disappointed. The very simple reason that I don't want my kids to grow up in a town that associated with casino. Because as some people already mentioned that the gambling is addictive. Absolutely not for the young people, for the kids. And to echo that, I received a campaign material from Mayor Lee. Clearly, he said that as a father, I'm against the casino. So I hope that you still remember what you said on the campaign, the material. So it's very clear, and I'm pretty sure that, and in the future, the other people, when they choose the real estate, the house family, to set up family, when they look at the Elk Grove has a casino, I think they probably they will move away. So, so I strongly ask the council and the mayor to repeal that and save the city money. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure for next election, it will be voted down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Jennifer Shia. Jennifer Shia. Following Jennifer is Samantha M.
Good evening, Council Member, Mayor Lear, and everyone. And I am from Elk Grove Chinese Association, and I'm representing a group of parents. And I have been living in Elk Grove since '92. And along with a lot of parents, we have our family here, and we have our children birthed here. They were born here. And we chose Elk Grove because Elk Grove is a good place to raise kids, have good schools, good environments. So we want to keep this legend going. We don't want to have a casino to be built in this city. I read an article today, it's really scary. Okay, it said to destroy a city, the best way is to install a casino there. That will do it. That whole neighbor will be destroyed. The city will be destroyed. And there's some research also indicated the kids grow up in a neighborhood with the casino would likely become a gambler when they grow up. So that's kind of like putting a seed into their mind, into their head. The city go for that project, that means it's okay to gamble, right? That's for the responsible grown up. But for kids, they don't know what's good or bad yet. Even though your parents try to educate it, they don't believe you. You are the first one lined up in the casino. Why you tell me it's not okay to gamble? You, as parent, you go to casino regularly. How you convince your kid gambling is not good? It's a conflict of a city. What the city can do to protect the people here, to protect the citizens, to protect our children. So I really, I can think about why Mayor Lear said, as a father, I oppose the casino. So you do have conscience from your heart. You do have your value from your culture, your religions, I believe, So I do believe the city need to make a really good decision. What is really good for Elk Grove? Money is not really good. No free money, no free lunch. We have to pay price for it. We might end up paying our generations on it because of the casino. I'm sure a lot of people choose Elk Grove because the good environment. If you destroy the good environment, I don't think the people who live it will be the same. A lot of people are thinking moving out. We're middle class. We don't ask for a lot of money. We just ask for an environment to let us to raise our kids safely, to give them a good concept, how to work hard, not thinking about going to the casino one day and get rich. So please, repeal the ordinance, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Samantha M. Following Samantha is Tong Sun.
Hello, I'm Samantha. I wanted to inform the City Council and the community of Elk Grove that the Wilton Rancheria is claiming the Hicksville Cemetery, the east side, as a tribal cemetery. This is not true as stated on the rod. Alec Blue is my great-great-grandfather. I am a Blue, and I am from a federally recognized tribe. I recognize some members of the Wilton Rancheria tribe that used to be an Ione Band of Miwok Indians, relinquished in 2010. Duly enrolled in 2 tribes. How's that? The Wilton tribe has no right to use our family cemetery or Alec Blue or the Blue family history. The Wilton tribe has lied to the census families, the city of Galt. Now they are lying to the city of Elk Grove. The Wilton tribe doesn't honor their tribal members. What makes the city of Elk Grove think they are different? Just like Chairman Raymond Chucky Hitchcock stated, it doesn't matter what the citizens of Elk Grove say. No casino, no use of my cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Tong Sun. Tong Sun is our next speaker. Following Tong Sun is Patty Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Tong Sun. Yeah, I just want to 3 points. The first one, remove the casino and replace another kind of business. Because the Indian tribe, they told us the casino only 10% of the whole business plan. So we just ask them remove the 10% and just replace another kind of business. We really need a shopping mall there. And the Indian tribe, they still can get 100% business opportunity. Number 2, we pay the higher tax and the Melrose every month. So we just take care of our community and our schools by ourselves very well right now. And until today, we didn't use any penny from Indian tribe. We are not in a hurry. We can waiting for better business opportunity. Our bottom line is we don't want casino too close to our community. Number 3, to vote. Let the people make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Patty Johnson. Following Patty Johnson is Cheryl Schmidt.
Mayor Lee and members of the City Council, once again, I'm here to address you in opposition to the casino. Mayor Lee, you have complained in the past that those of us who oppose the casino are repeating ourselves. I'm reminded of a teaching technique I learned a long time ago, one that teachers use when they're ignored. It's called broken record, and to use it, the teacher just keeps repeating what she has been saying. She just keeps repeating what she has been saying. She just keeps repeating what she has been saying until the student has gotten the message. The reason that we keep repeating ourselves is that it is all too apparent that you and the City Council have not gotten the message. Your lack of interest in the opinions of the citizens of Elk Grove and the underhanded way in which this project was undertaken leads us to feel that a broken record approach is the only way we will be heard. What we hear from casino proponents is that the casino will bring jobs, business, and at long last a mall to Elk Grove, and that it will also benefit the Wilton Rancheria. We have shown that these are dubious benefits. The jobs will mostly be temporary. The long-term jobs will be low-paying. Casino business will stay in the casino. It's built to be self-contained. The information from Hughes, full of mystery and circumlocution about tenants, added to the suit brought by the theater company, is hardly reassuring. I doubt the mall will ever be built, casino or no casino. The Rancheria tribe may derive a benefit from the casino, but a large proportion of casino profits will benefit Nevada gaming interests. We moved to Elk Grove 37 years ago when it was a small town of around 10,000 people with just one stoplight at Elk Grove Boulevard and Elk Grove Florin Road. We loved the small town atmosphere and the good schools. Our son was just entering kindergarten. The Chamber of Commerce sent out a welcome lady to tell us about the town. The park was so beautiful. The library was part of a strong tradition, even though it was small. I often walked our middle son in a stroller to the middle of town. However, change is inevitable. I understand that. It used to be that I thought that the mayor and city council were on board with maintaining those small town traditions and atmosphere even as the population of the town exploded. But the casino will dominate Elk Grove, a 12-story building far taller than anything else, complete with glitzy signs, open 24 hours, advertised no doubt by a sexy TV campaign, will change our image irrevocably. We are told about the benefits over the next 10 years. What will the casino look like in 30 years? In 50 years? The founders of Elk Grove had a vision back in the 19th century, and we are their beneficiaries. What will our descendants say about the legacy we are leaving them? If we hold a referendum election, at least they will know that we tried to preserve what is best about Elk Grove.
Thank you, ma'am. Cheryl Smith. Following Cheryl is Bridget Barnes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Cheryl Schmidt, Director of Stand Up for California. Again, we are not opposed to gambling, but the gambling that's going to be presented in our state needs to be presented in a way that follows process, both at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. Our objections to this process has been at the federal level. The citizens in this community did not get to participate in the original draft environmental impact statement. The scoping hearing was down in Galt, not here. The change of venue was late in the process and should have had a broader environmental review than what was given here. I mean, just listening to Susan tonight about the water and the sewage issues, that presents some very interesting concerns. Also tonight, yes, we did receive the record of decision dated the 19th of January. I happen to know that it didn't get signed until late in the evening on the 17th, and that the Office of the Secretariat has issued a memo holding all decisions, so that this title has not yet, as of today, been transferred into trust. So this is still on hold. And as a side note, Stand Up still has, and the other citizens, has a 705 request for a review seeking justice in this review. Additionally, I did not see a discussion in the staff report tonight backing up the city's claim that the repeal of the ordinance or a vote would not have any type of impact on the land into trust decision. This is obviously an important question, and it's strange that it's missing from the staff report. Instead, the city issued a media advisory, which is not a proper way to convey information on a critical question such as this to the council or to the voters. The city's press statement minces words. You are correct to say that you do not have a direct vote for or against the casino, but the effect The consequence of your vote will either stall or expedite the development of that casino. That needs to be said. The city has stated in its press release that the council's decision to repeal the ordinance or call for an election will have no impact on the land and trust application or the casino project. That is something the city council does not know as a fact. That is an unknown. Again, it appears the city in that statement was attempting to mislead the citizens. The city has not voted to take an official position, yet in the record of decision, Mayor Lee is documented as calling and stating that the city is in full support. How is Mayor Lee's phone call relaying support for the casino possible if the city has never taken a direct vote against or for the casino? Additionally, since the record of decision was issued, normally on a fee to trust that is a non-gaming acquisition, there is a 30-day period in which to file an appeal. But when you have a final agency action signed by a Secretary of Interior, there is a 6-year period in which to file an appeal. Thank
Hey,
you.
Cheryl,
Yes, sir.
I got a couple of questions. I'm not familiar with, do you live here in Elk Grove?
No, sir, I don't. And I've said that before when I've been present.
Then I may have missed that. Are you paid by the gaming institutions?
No. Stand Up is a statewide organization. We organized in 1996. We were filed with the Secretary of State and with the IRS. And
It appears you have millions of dollars that have come into your organization. It's coming from somewhere.
Well, yes, we did have millions of dollars. Stand Up had a campaign account during the 2014 election. I do not have a campaign account. Oh, yes, okay. But we had a campaign account, and we filed, we carried the Prop 48 campaign, which was to oppose, to oppose the off-reservation casino of the North Fork in Madera County. Contributions were made to that campaign account. They came in from tribal governments, they came in from card clubs, they came in from individuals. And I think there was something like $15 million, maybe more. I did not get paid in that account. That paid for the campaign, and that was an effort. We won that effort. 61% of the voters of the state voted in opposition to off-reservation gaming, and 61% of the citizens in Sacramento actually voted in opposition to off-reservation gaming.
So are you a paid employee or volunteer?
Volunteer. It's all volunteer. There are no paid employees at Stand Up.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Schmidt, I had a question for you also. So I appreciate you're in opposition to a casino, which we are not voting on a casino project here tonight.
No, but the consequence presents a vote.
Right, but you understand we are not, I mean, yes, you seem very familiar with this process. We are not voting on a casino project here tonight. Would you agree?
Not a direct vote on the casino, but the consequence of your vote.
I understand, no, but I also want to ask you, have you always opposed casinos, or, because my understanding in 2008, you seem to be in favor of a memorandum of understanding with the United Auburn tribe in Placer County. Is that true?
Okay.
Here you oppose it, but there you were. I would just like to understand what made that one, what made that one okay, but this one, I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking a question.
I understand, and you're asking a very good question, and that's why tribal gaming is so complicated. It's political and it's legal.
It is complicated. Thank you.
And what you're looking at is Section 20, as everybody refers to it, of the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. And basically, the act itself developed October 17th, or passed October 17th, 1988, said that there is a general prohibition on gambling on Indian reservations unless it's on the Indian reservation. At the last minute before that act was passed, Section 20 was added by the Governor's Association and the Senate Committee of Indian Affairs. There's no legislative history on that section of the act. None, because it never went to a committee. No one got to debate it, and that was intentional. So certain tribes have congressional acts. United Auburn has a congressional act. The Paskenta has a congressional act. You have a number of Mission Indians with congressional acts. Those are clear and indisputable exceptions for gaming and for the acquisition of land. Then you have Rancheria tribes, which were created differently in California. We have an unfortunate and unique history of tribal gaming in California. So when we deal with the reservation tribe, or Rancheria tribe, we need to look at each tribe's land acquisitions and their status independently. And in this situation, Wilton was not recognized until 2009, and it was done so by a court order or a court settlement. The merits of the tribe's claims were never debated. And you should be familiar with this because I think the city of Elk Grove, you were a party to that case, to the settlement?
I wasn't around.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the settlement says that the tribe may acquire additional land outside of the Rancheria. The Rancheria and the contiguous lands to the Rancheria are clearly restored lands. Yet the land here in Elk Grove is discretionary, and whether or not it can be considered restored lands can be challenged. And if the citizens of this community are opposed to a casino, that challenge can be made.
So you're opposed to the differentiation of the lands, but not the use. I'm hearing a distinction here, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I understand the residents, why they're upset, some residents here, why they're upset about the use, but I'm hearing from you now, there's a distinction, not about the use, but just the way the lands are being obtained.
The way lands can be determined.
That's
So
your
if you
complaint.
have a tribe with an act of Congress that says they can acquire any land, like in Placer County, as much land as they want in Placer County, and it would be considered restored lands, well, Congress has plenary power, and you can't argue with that. The Grayton Rancheria acquired land in all of Sonoma and Marin County as restored lands, and there's no argument with that. We have a tribe that has gotten a land swap, which again was done through a congressional act. That's okay for gaming. And then you have tribes that are federally recognized through the Federal Recognitions Part 83 process, which was just recently changed in 2015. I don't have all the criteria on that just yet. But yes, the land is an issue.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. It is complicated, thank you.
Sure, and yes, I normally do support, our organization does support local agreements because that is the only way that you can protect the interest of the citizens. But first, you have to consider the land and the status of the tribe.
Local agreements like the MOU.
Like a memorandum of understanding, but not prior till you consider the status of the land and the status of the tribe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Bridget Barnes. Bridget Barnes. Bridget Barnes. Following Bridget is Joe Tessera.
Good evening, members of the City Council and the newest council member. Cheryl covered almost everything that I was going to mention. There was also an additional factual mistake that was made by a proponent earlier. That has to do with why the crime stats on the casinos that were referenced to you, whether it is the Shingle Springs Band, that's Red Hawk, one of the Maidu's that's up in Placer County, that's the Big Thunder Valley, are relatively low, although you did have that horrible murder of the girl at the Thunder Valley Casino about 3 years ago. So, but the main reason is they're in the country. Thunder Valley, although it's huge, is at least a mile from any community. It's surrounded by county property, including the county dump. All right? It's not at all your situation. of what you're proposing in Elk Grove, which is that all of the property immediately to the north is already taken by residential.
Reggie,
Same with
just for
Shingle
clarity,
Springs.
we're not,
in
we're not,
town.
we're not
I just
proposing
am-
anything.
I'm just pointing this out.
But we're
because
not proposing anything.
I understand that, but
No,
you
you
were
just said we're
taking
proposing it.
testimony.
We're not proposing anything.
All right, you are not proposing it. What has been proposed by the tribe and tacitly approved by this city council by virtue of the MOU, that's a clearer statement. In that case, there is a big factual difference, and I'm just pointing that out to you so that everybody's on the same page. The three that are used and held up as banners that have worked in the community are in fact away from any substantial community area. It is true that they're very generous. That's absolutely true. They have been generous to their communities. I would never say they have not. But I did want to put that on because there seems to be this idea that that there's not going to be a crime issue if you have it right in downtown Elk Grove. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Joe Tessera. Following Joe is Jisoo.
Hi, Mayor, Council. My name is Joe Teixeira. I'm the chair of the Committee to Protect Elk Grove. I want to start with a quote. This goes, "Voting is the expression of our commitment to ourselves, one another, this country, this city, and this world." An election is how most of you got behind the dais. If you forego an election, you disenfranchise tens of thousands of Elk Grovans. Also, you'll never really know how many of your constituents really hate the idea of a casino. For these reasons, I urge you to make a decision in favor of an election. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jisoo. Following Jisoo is Jude Chen.
Good evening. I was here last year for this issue, and I said gambling is a poison. And I would like to say that again. Gambling is a poison. It cannot be denied. I've been living here for 9 years. I chose this place because it's a nice community. It has nice schools, and that has nice people here. But recently, I've seen something bad happening, like for the holiday season, the decoration items were stolen in the community, and mailboxes were broken in. So a lot of things happening now. And I don't want to see another poison come in this nice community. And I couldn't agree more with the gentleman saying about moral. So if you keep bringing more poison, the moral standard will be lowered. So I don't want to see that for our community, especially for our children, for the next generations. I would like to say we welcome the nice shopping mall, the nice restaurants, but not the casino. I would like to see competition for education, competition for nicer communities, but not competition for casino here. And I don't want to say other people think Elk Grove as a casino city. It's not right for us. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Judy Chen. Judy Chen. Following Judy is Carolyn Soros.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and the city members. I work for Department of Healthcare Services, and I believe the state recognizes there's a gambling problem. So that's why there's an anonymous phone line to call, for everyone, for anyone who has a gambling problem to call the state for help. I represent Elk Grove Chinese Association parents. I oppose the casino project because I think it's too close to our community. It's next door of Kaiser Permanente Clinics, and it's less than two and a half miles from Perkington Middle School and Consumers Oaks High School. And I can imagine the negative effect on our children and young people. I'm thinking about the addictions, the gambling problems, how much it will affect our children. So all in all, I support the vote of people. Let people of Elk Grove to decide whether there's a casino or not. Thank you.
Next speaker is Carolyn Soares. Following Carolyn is Michael Manaski.
Hi again. At the last meeting, you were talking about the record of decision. I know Stephanie wasn't here. On that record of decision, and I know it will be under review. Some of the things I'm hoping that they'll review is on page 28. I'll just mention a few of the things. They said the existing land use has less than significant impact. They don't think it would have any impact on the commercial, which I agree on that. But multifamily, the medium density residential and the low density residential that would basically be adjacent to this facility. Visual, on page 31, it says visual would be consistent with current and commercial retail character of the area. I don't know how a 12-story structure could be consistent with a 100-foot maximum allowed in that area. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. It's almost 3 times as high as what's permitted. Air quality would not, on page 33, it says air quality would not adversely impact the region's air quality. But yet they said there'd be like 14,000 cars on the weekend and, I don't know, 6,000 or 8,000 during the week. And earlier, one of the Blue family residents came up and talked about the cemetery and that. On page 65, 67, and 68, it says that the tribe must demonstrate significant historical connection to the land. And on their record of decision, they mentioned, or they said, that the Hicksville Cemetery is what designates their historical significance. But yet, and that Hicksville Cemetery is for the Blue family, but yet the Blue family has since been disenrolled, I guess, from the tribe is what they were saying. I don't know how that all works. Earlier, when Cheryl was up here from Stand Up for California, I almost felt like she was on trial or something. I was shocked to hear the council basically quizzing her credentials or something, and does she live in the area? Whereas I've seen a whole slew of people from the building association that aren't from the area. And did you question them? You know, they're saying, oh, these need, we need to build this because, excuse me. They said, we need to have this casino because it will create jobs. Well, building a casino, building a mall, don't they both have jobs? Did you question them to what else they might have in mind? Are they wanting to use the casino and the jobs that it create to go to LAFCO later and say, hey, let's build homes between Elk Grove and Galt? What ulterior motives did they have? I didn't see any questions on them. Lastly, the main thing I want is already mentioned that Steve Lee, a week after you approved the, or certified, whatever it's called, the referendum, that there were enough signatures, that they actually called Washington, D.C., saying, hey, the whole council, which I understand that may or may not be the case, supports this and is, please do this land trust. And then after the temporary thing came out, Pat Hume, even though he's recused himself, he quotes in a newspaper article that good news is the council can set aside their prior action and there's no need for any special election. And then at the last meeting, Mr. Detrick, Steve said that, hey, I won't have it, he didn't want to support an election. And you also said in the record decision that whether or not this, your ordinance from October, if it's in effect, it wouldn't make any difference. So if that's the case, I just ask that you repeal your vote from October, and if not, to let the people vote. It is a democracy. We have the signatures. Please support the people that I think we've spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Carolyn, I just wanted to clarify. I was asking Ms. Schmidt about, seemed to be a contradictory in previous actions of supporting one MOU for another tribe versus what she's doing here, and she explained herself and her rationale. So I just wanted you to, I wanted to clarify that for you if you thought we were trying to be interrogating.
Well, just when I heard that, I didn't hear you any of the council members say anything to the building association. Because to me, it's like, why are you supporting, you want jobs for Elk Grove, so why are you saying, hey, this is the only way we can do it? Aren't there construction jobs in building a shopping mall?
I'm not aware of somebody advocating for jobs somewhere else and not, and advocating against jobs here. I'm talking about.
That's what I've been hearing repeatedly at the last few council meetings, is the building association people have come up and said, hey, we want you to support this because we want the jobs even though they're temporary. I've heard that over and over.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Manaski. Mr. Manaski, come on up. Following Mr. Manaski is Esther Stick.
My preamble bears repeating. This isn't a city council, it's a business firm that's hijacked our local democracy. 3 times now, they've arranged appointment of their colleague's successor over the will of the people. They're badasses like biker punks who French kiss each other at the bar, flashing knives and pointing guns at all comers. Their mode of governance is proto-dactyl. Make no mistake, they are the rough trade of local politics, sporting their fake leather jackets emblazoned with colors from their sponsors. I itemize some of those colors. I'll close with this color. It's the bloody wings. It took a gambling casino nobody really wanted to earn them their bloody wings. This quaint patch is the most sought after among outlaw gangs because it proves loyalty. The firm should beware of the real gangsters behind all this action. While the Mongols, the outlaws, the Hells Angels, y los bandidos have eliminated competing gangs on their respective geographic turf, there is an enforcement group of thugs that keeps Elk Grove in line. It's Region Business, whose spokesman recently told a crowd outside these chambers, January 25th, in effect, go ahead, put the casino to a vote. We'll crush the opposition. His word, crush the opposition. Government by punks, gangsters, and thugs can only end badly.
Esther Stick. Esther Stick is our next speaker. Following Esther is Xin Gao. I do not see Esther Xin Gao. Oh, there she is. Come on up, Esther.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to tell you I'm completely against the casino. And I would really ask you and urge you to repeal your October vote or let the people vote. That would be the right thing to do, so people can decide, and if they decide to have a casino, then be it, but if they say no, that's what people want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Xin Gao. Xin Gao. Following Xin is Randy Becker.
Thank you. Sorry, did you ask me a question or? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak to you, and congratulations for the new position. I think there's a lot of concerns, a lot of opinions. I just want to first set this record straight, maybe repeat the fact. Research have already shown that when casino goes into the cities, crime rates, suicide rates, bankruptcy rates goes up 10%. And I just searched very easily online, CNN, considered to be very authoritative news, and the title goes, it's without doubt that casino has a negative impact effect on the communities, period. And there's something also very interesting that they point out is that the nature of the industry actually evolved over the years. Right now, it is no longer considered a luxurious entertainment industry because occasional wealthy patrons goes in there, and that's about 75% of them. They only let the casino earn about 4% of their revenues. The rest of the money actually is made from people who can least afford it. Now, talking about moral irresponsibility, that's a huge one. So that's what it is. It's preying on the vulnerable people. If we think about, most of the people that this casino, if built, for most people that it could attract, are we attracting the right people? That's a great question mark there. So the facts are the facts, but it's very entertaining to the point to see the procedure of this. And I mean, I can't help it, but just look at the proponents of this to summarize what they can do. I mean, the facts are there, but the tactics so far is number 1, denial, number 2, deceit, and number 3, as our first speaker who gave a perfect example, bullying. I just want to encourage the council that the gambling industry is in a shambles state. The matter of fact is that it's more like a locust industry. They screw up one community, makes it poor, move on, and hunt on another wonderful community like ours. So they need us, and we don't need them. This city has great schools, great parks. It lived through this great recession when the money is really tight. Congratulations, the council lived through it, we thrived. We didn't need any of those shamble monies. So don't be scared of those bullies. Listen to your heart, listen to your moral, make the wise and the courageous decision. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Randy Becker. Randy Becker. Following Randy is Tom Waltman.
Have some broad shoulders, because these guys get mudsling at them all the time and don't deserve it. When we moved here, that stoplight was a stop sign. It's true I have friends on the tribal council. I got involved not because of our friendship. I got involved because I went to take my 75-year-old mother to the grocery store and got inundated by thugs about a referendum of what they were calling the casino. Once again, I spoke last time and I'll speak again. We're not talking about the casino. We're talking about the development agreement. These people want to talk about the casino, they want to vote, they want to do this, they want to do that. It needs to stop tonight. It really does. Repeal it. Because the vote is going to only continue the inaccuracy of the truth. That truth is, there is no vote on a casino. You got lobbyists up here. They're not representing Elk Grove. 1 in 5 signed that petition. 1 in 5 of voters signed the petition. Out of 1 in 5, how many of those people actually knew what they were signing? Those people were paid people, and that's why I'm here. Because after 40 years, I'm going to get involved and I'm going to be here. People talk about, well, you don't listen to me. Well, you know why? Because you don't listen. This isn't about a casino. Repeal the development agreement and stop it. Because there's no reason to continue this mess. They don't understand what they're going to be voting on. They come up here one at a time, one at a time. And again, one at a time. No casino, no casino, no casino. I get it. I appreciate my neighbors. The reason Wilton is flooding, because for 40 years it's flooded. You want to be worried? Worry when 99 and I-5 is flooded. Then you start worrying. Yeah, you don't drive on the flooded roads. But for us that's been here all these years, you know and he knows what the water does. I put my backing to our chief when he stands up and says about the crime. I'll tell you right now, if there's drugs and prostitution in these casinos, I'm going to have me some gosh darn fun. But I'll tell you right now, it's a lie. I've been to Feather Falls. I've been to Rolling Hills. I've been to Red Hawk. I've been to Thunder Valley, professionally and personally. I appreciate you guys taking this in consideration and repeal your vote tonight. Thank you.
Tom Waltman. Tom Waltman. Come on down. After Tom is Sharon Lyons.
That one's a hard one to follow for me. Mayor, city council members, and newest city council person, Wen, congratulations. I'd like to beg your indulgence for just a second and wish my wife a happy birthday tonight. So, to be clear, we're not talking about the casino at any point. This is not a vote on the casino. There never will be a vote on the casino. What we're talking about is an amendment to the development agreement that Howard Hughes needs, who they've publicly stated. They've publicly stated they're not developing that parcel of land, whether it's a casino or a super Walmart or an IKEA or anything else. They're not going to develop it. They need that development agreement amendment, correct? Okay, that's what we're talking about. Now, Ms. Schmidt came up here and she gave you an idea of what's actually happening. She's not up here to oppose the development agreement amendment. She doesn't care about that thing. What she cares about is spending the tribe into quitting. That's their tactic. She's trying to cost everybody so much money that they walk away. Because eventually, you know, enough legal actions, that's their whole thing right now. I mean, who paid for all of those ads? It wasn't the citizens of Elk Grove. It was card rooms. It was other casinos. It was gambling interest, and they don't give a damn about us. They simply do not care if there's a casino here or not, as long as they keep their slice of the pie. Bottom line, they want their money. Just like Ms. Schmidt, she got her money. Wonder how that happened. She's a lobbyist. I am not a lobbyist. I don't get paid by anybody stand up here and say what I'm saying. I've been here for 20 years. I love this community. My kids are raised here. I'm going to continue to raise my kids here, and regardless of what some of my friends may say, I can hit a golf ball to the damn arenas or the casino site from my house. You know what? We need to just cut to the chase here. This isn't about the casino. This is about Howard Hughes' need for that development agreement amendment, and the BIA has already ruled. It's over. The only thing they can do is try to spend the tribe out of money now to stop it. That's their plan. But there is an interesting part of this. If you go online and look at some of the comments from some of the people there, they talk about not wanting the mall either. Yet they will ask you to put this to a vote. I wonder why that is. Seriously, why? I mean, they make no bones about not wanting the mall. So they're trying to kill the mall, which kind of struck me as I was reading all of this stuff. Now, the bottom line here is you just need to repeal the development agreement. BIA doesn't care. They're going to put that land in trust. So let's just save the money and get to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Sharon is our next speaker. Following Sharon is Tim Hoy.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council people. To say the least, it's been an interesting evening. I think we've all learned a little bit of something from somewhere, a lot of good, interesting comments. I am a resident of Elk Grove for 41 and a half years, and I have raised my children here, and so on and so forth. And I don't work here. Yes, I have worked here. I've been a mother for I don't know how many years. Anyway, I've worked, shopped, and lived here, and I still keep shopping here. Anyway, I signed that petition, but before I did, I talked to the people, and I actually went to several different locations and talked to the petitioners. Yes, they're paid, but every darn one is paid, no matter what the contest, practically. They did not mention them all at all to me. They mentioned the casino, but they had the document right there with the petition as to the MOU, the agreement. It was right there to see. So I had no problem with that. Anyway, everybody that wants a piece of the pie is from outside, including the Wilton Rancheria. Night Adventures, Regional Builders, Boyd Gaming, they're making tons of money if this thing goes through. There's so many outside influences. That's why I would like, as a resident, we should be able to speak our voice on this issue. And I'm asking for a special election of the citizens, who are registered voters, of course. And if they, and then, if I would, my first preference is an election, but I would like to see the ordinance repealed, number 23-20116. But if not, then I want an election held, and I want those people, 14,000 people, to be able to vote on this casino. We need a vote. We need a vote of the people, by it, and for the people. They're the ones that live here, have come here to live, and want to continue to live here. And no way did I ever, in 41 and a half years ago, think that a casino would even be being considered. Repeal or put us for election. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Tim Hoy. Tim Hoy. Following Tim is Fen Lee.
I'm Tim Hoy, and no, I'm not Asian. Okay, I have a different take on, I'm going to do a different spin on this. I wish Pat were here to hear this, okay? I've been doing sort of regressive analysis of the council over the last year and some of the decisions that have been made. And I've come here multiple times to tell you where you guys have actually stretched the truth, or in some cases, possibly broken the law. And the last time was on June 6th, when we talked about the drainage fund, which is, what kind of fund, Laura?
It's an enterprise fund.
Yeah, it's a fund that cannot be redirected.
Actually, under state law, you can use enterprise fund money for.
It's a restricted fund, not an enterprise fund.
It is an enterprise fund, and it is typically restricted for use in the drainage system.
Okay, so because you guys made bad decisions about where revenue was going to be made in your expansion plans out there, you fell short. So you guys decided that you were going to borrow from the drainage fund to cover the error that was made from this council, excluding you, out there. So why should I trust you to make a decision that we want to make out here? Because in the past, you've done things like one time inflated numbers where it included false information, which I had to go dig out and come back and tell you, which actually forced you to cut a tax increase in half that you guys proposed. Why should I trust you to make this decision? I want to make the decision. I'm good at it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fen Lee is our next speaker. Fen Lee. Following Fen is David Kano.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fen. I came to Elk Grove about 7 years ago. I came to Elk Grove only because it's a nice area and I want to live here. But there's no job here, and we all have to work outside of Elk Grove. The commute is bad already, so I oppose to the casino project. I used to live with my aunt. she used to go to Jackson Casino a lot because there's nothing else in Elk Grove. I suffer a lot, me and my sister, because we didn't want to let her go alone. We had to stay with her, but we had to stay outside because of our age. So for the young people, if they had to go with their parents or their grandparents to the casino, but they couldn't go in, it's a lot of problem. It's waste of the time and their health. So I think the casino is only bad for the people who live in Elk Grove. And as a matter of fact, my house is about 30 minutes away from Jackson Casino, but it's about 50 or more to any shopping mall. Why don't we build a big shopping mall or restaurants so we can bring in more healthy jobs and more entertainment for the citizens in this area? Thank you.
Our last speaker is David Kano. Mr. Kano, come on up.
I wanted to say something from my last discussion. First thing, does anybody know San Jose Bay 101, the card? I was born and raised in San Jose. I actually lived right next to the Bay 101 card, the biggest card room ever in San Jose, which I'm born and raised there. When people say that you're going to get an addiction to, you know, that you're going to be a gambler. I was raised in a dysfunctional family, but that didn't mean my parents basically were drinkers. But I don't smoke, I don't drink, never have, never will. I work out 4 days a week and so forth. So when people say that this is going to be addiction, you're the product of your own environment and your own household. How you raise your kids does not tell you or dictate what society is going to, how your kids are going to be raised. It's how you raise them is how it's going to be, for that matter. I went to Sacramento for I don't know if you guys remember the homeless situation in Sacramento. They had a big old meeting, over 1,400 people there. There was a lot of people there. I attended that meeting. And I went up there, took me till what, 11 o'clock? I was one of the last speakers. Basically what happened was, I told them, look, I don't understand, you can actually write a check. You can't write a check for $1 million to help these homeless people, but you can write a $500 million check for that stupid stadium. So what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't make sense. They got their priorities backwards in Sacramento. And I've taken pictures. There's people sleeping in front of the city hall. And I even showed them a big old billboard that I went ahead and made a copy of it so that way they can see what's going on in their own city, which I happened to pass by their city hall, that people were sleeping in front of the city hall. So what happened is that if there's no jobs in Elk Grove, in which I took pictures in Stockton, there was a line of acres of tents along Stockton sleeping on the front line because there's no jobs. What I want to say is this. If we don't bring these jobs here, it's going to look like Sacramento, it's going to look like Stockton, and people are out of their luck because they don't have jobs. And I don't want to hear nobody complaining, saying that there's a lot of homeless people in Elk Grove and all that kind of stuff because you rejected this, of having an opportunity to bring jobs here. No. What I want you guys to do, save your money, do not take it to a vote, and give that money to the homeless situation, because that's where they need it best. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kano. Seeing that there are no additional speakers signed up to speak, I want to close public comment and want to give the council an opportunity to deliberate. Councilman Sun, you want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I heard a lot of passionate dialogue tonight, both for and against the casino project, but I need to emphasize we're not here to talk about a casino project. So I understand there's could be a relationship construed between that. But having said that, the record of decision as it stands today allows the land to be placed into trust despite the existence of the development agreement on the property, which remains on the property since the referendum was passed and the initial ordinance taken by the council was frozen. So the common ground I heard tonight was repeal and save the city money. And so with that, I'm all for repealing this ordinance.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Well, I appreciate all the discussion tonight. Just for a little clarity, is Sharon still here? Did Sharon take off? She mentioned that this was relative to the MOU. Tonight isn't about the MOU. It's not about the casino. It's about the development agreement between the Howard Hughes Corporation and the city of Elk Grove. That's what we're voting on tonight. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of hysteria has been made. There's been Pandora ads, TV ads, internet ads, all giving false information. You know, a lot of people were sent messages to come to the city council to have them vote against the casino tonight. There's no vote for the casino. Tim, just to answer your question, the drainage fund, we've almost paid that back. Okay, that's debatable. That's your opinion. That's your opinion. I gave you your respect when you were up at the podium. I didn't interrupt you. I'm not dishing you. I'm telling you you're wrong. The city manager told you you're wrong too.
She changed the name of it. You can't relabel it and then reuse it in a different way. She knows that.
Well, I'm not going to argue the point with you. The bottom line is we're going to be paying the drainage fund back.
Please, the public comment is closed. Sir, please. Vice Mayor.
And then Carolyn, relative to your comment, relative to Cheryl, what my point was is card rooms and gaming facilities are the ones who are paying for all this negative advertising. And that was, that's what we said there. So, and you know what, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but at least be honest. At least be honest that you're gonna.
Even going to be aware of the casino if it were not for Stand Up California.
Well, then. So card rooms and gamings are the ones who are doing a lot of negative. Night Adventures should be ashamed of her. Please, I gave you respect. You've had your chance. Now it's our time to deliberate, and you give us the same respect that we gave you, please. So with that, it's very disappointing to me. There was a lot of deception that took place to get these signatures. But regardless, I've heard from what all of you said, and I've told you last meeting, and I said at the start of this meeting, my recommendation would be tonight, if the councilman made a motion on repealing this ordinance, I'll second that. I know there's still more deliberation to take place, but I just want to give my position on it. So if that's a motion, is that a motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Okay, and then I'll second that, but we can go for a vote after full deliberation's done. And so again, to me, there's a lot of intentional confusion that was made. And again, is Ms. Johnson, I believe it was, said, sometimes you got to go over and over and over. So it's a development agreement with the Howard Hughes Corporation. It's a development agreement with the Howard Hughes Corporation. It's a development agreement with the Howard Hughes Corporation.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Nguyen.
It's no secret that workforce development is my specialty and my passion. And that any chance where we could bring thousands of jobs to Elk Grove is always a plus for our entire city. It provides self-sufficiency. It gives people an opportunity to be able to make a living. However, I've heard from everybody in here, and I especially take to heart folks that have been here for a long time, lived in this city for many years. And, I'd have to say that I agree with my fellow council members and that we'll do what our community is asking us to do. And we've heard from quite a few of you to repeal the ordinance. So I'm in favor of repealing the ordinance as well.
Well, folks, from the get-go, I've always been troubled with this decision, from the MOU to the development agreement. But I think Councilmember Soon and also the Vice Mayor have clearly stated what the issue is at hand tonight. Not only that, but I've also heard loud and clear the number of emails, the number of signatures that were presented before us, and all of you who consistently come and shared your opposition to this. But I am certainly respectful and mindful of the importance of our role in making sure that we bring jobs to the city of Elk Grove. And that is the reason why I'm split internally. And many of the speakers tonight have indicated and cited that, certainly during the campaign, I have indicated that. But that being the case, I think that I'm just tired of seeing our community be divided. And I'm prepared to vote tonight to set it aside as well.
So Mayor, the motion has to be read in, so if the councilman would read that in.
Okay.
John, you need us to read it in? Okay. Motion to introduce and waive the full reading by substitution of title only, an ordinance repealing ordinance 23-2016, adopting the First Amendment to the development agreement with Elk Grove Town Center, LP.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Let the record show that Councilman Hume is not here. All right, next item.
The next item is 10.2 to receive the fiscal year 2016-17 mid-year budget and performance review and adopt a resolution amending the fiscal year 2016-17 budget performance measure program and fiscal year 2016-21 capital improvement program.
I love when the guys, I hope you have broad shoulders because these guys get punched all day long.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Good evening, members of the council, Mayor Lee, and welcome, Stephanie. I'm Andrew Keys, the city's budget manager, here to present the mid-year budget update.
Folks, if you want to carry on a conversation, can we ask for you to go out into the lobby, please? We have one more item to take care of this evening.
On your way out, you can fill out our budget outreach tool, the $500 budget challenge. It's right by the roll-up doors out there, so. Always trying to get some feedback for you, so. This is our mid-year budget update. Every year, the budget we adopt, our council adopts in June, and then we bring back an item which provides an update on the first 6 months of expenses it's required in the adopting ordinance of the budget. So the time period that's covered in this report is July 1 through December 31st of the fiscal year 2016-17. So get through here. So go through the report summary, what we're going to talk about here. We'll talk about the general fund. This is general purpose tax dollars. There are some personnel requests that are being made in that. And also we have a concept called the estimated remaining amount. In summary, revenues are higher than anticipated, expenses are lower than anticipated. That leaves some additional resources for the council to consider programming tonight. We'll talk about our transit fund, which, as the council members who've been here are aware and have heard from staff a number of times, and Stephanie, I'm sure you'll become very familiar with, always has its own financial challenges as well. So we'll go into detail on that. We have CIP and budget requests here that we'll talk about. CIP is capital improvement program. Then we'll talk about development activity, and Shay will come up and give a little update on that, as well as performance measures at mid-year. We have a performance measure program that monitors progress towards specific council goals with achievable with reports on the measures that we're targeting. Then we'll mention our Open City Hall budget outreach, which we've already mentioned to anyone here a couple of times tonight, but there's a little update on that in the report as well. And then it'll be open for deliberation and council action. So this slide here is showing the general fund revenues at mid-year. As you can see, there's large variances on the plus side in both sales and property tax. Sales tax continues to grow faster than we anticipate, faster than the region, faster than the state. It's a positive sign here. Property tax, the growth is all in the non-revenue neutrality areas of the city, so it's net new revenue. Revenue neutrality is the agreement that the city has with the County of Sacramento, whereby the city's allotted portion of property tax, a large percentage of that goes back to the county. So because these are in areas not affected by that, we actually get to keep all the additional revenue. All told, we're up a little over $2 million in revenue projected at year end, as opposed to what we projected in the budget. The expenses here, other areas of revenue highlight, transient occupancy tax continues to go up as well, although we were closer to budget on that, but it's an area that we continue to expand on that's bringing folks into town. General fund expenses, you'll see here, there's about a $1.7 million difference between the current year and projected and what the budget initially projected. The largest portion of that is savings in the salary and benefit area due to levels of vacancy that we're experiencing. So again, leaving a little bit of additional capacity for council to reprogram resources. Personnel requests, these are all general fund positions. This would be in addition to the officer that was approved on, additional officer that was approved on the consent calendar tonight. There are 2 police officers and a dispatcher in the police department that are being requested. We don't anticipate these will have significant current year budget impact due to the level of vacancy that we maintain in our police department, but it moves us closer to having a right-sized police force. And these are fiscal year 17-18 projected costs if these positions are actually filled. In our 5-year projection that was presented to council last spring, we included the actual budgeted positions for 16-17 that we added at that point in time, and then an addition of 2 sworn officers and 1 non-sworn officer per year, or the cost of that to be allocated by the police chief as he saw necessary for operations. That was within the budget. So this was essentially kind of pulling that forward here into the current year because we have the additional resources to do so. So we'll talk a little bit about the estimated remaining amount, projected revenues, and projected expenditures. Both are in our favor right now, and that's giving additional resources to allocate. We're recommending council to consider these resources as one-time revenues. This wasn't planned for in the original budget. We have the revenues and we have the budget authorization to continue providing the services that were promised with the initial budget. So we're asking to treat these revenues at this point in time as one-time revenues, taking care of some balance sheet items, minimizing some future obligations that we know are coming, and then also recognizing that this creates a new base for our revenue projections for next year. You know, with the higher than anticipated revenues, now we would plan, if that grows, we're going off that new base, so we will have a chance to allocate that for more services in the future as well. Coming up with the budget in the spring this year. So the 3 uses that staff is recommending is to first pay off the general fund loan, the remaining obligation towards the purchase of the multi-sport complex. This is the loan of funds to purchase the 100-acre property off of Grant Line. We made an advance payment towards this with similar savings that we received last year at the end of fiscal year 15-16, and this would just finalize that, and it would, at that point, it would eliminate any internal fund obligations, any internal fund borrowing obligations the general fund had. That's approximately $700,000 budget line item, which would be freed up to fund future projects or services as necessary including potential financing of larger scale capital projects like the animal shelter that has been discussed with council in the past. We also would use 50% of the remaining amount after taking all revenues less expenditures, less this $939,000, and use that to pay the CalPERS obligation, to help to pay the CalPERS unfunded accrued liability obligations. There's two components of our PERS obligations that the city knows at this point in time will be increasing over the next couple of years. That's the unfunded actuarial liability, which is a fixed amount that CalPERS provides to us, and absent even the recent reduction in the discount rate that CalPERS did, that amount was going to climb. The reduction of the discount rate that CalPERS recently adopted is only going to make that amount climb further. We have some control by pre-funding some of that obligation now, as opposed to waiting to pay it at the amount that's slated in the actuarial schedules. We can reduce some of that increase by putting some of this money towards that at this point in time. The other component of PERS that's going up that we don't have control over is the normal cost, which is essentially the cost today for the future benefit of employees that are currently working at the city. That portion we don't have any control over, and that will go up, and it will only go up more now because of the recent action by CalPERS. So knowing that that's growing, we felt it prudent to try to get out in front of that. A lot of agencies are experiencing much more significant increases than we anticipate we will, but if we can stay in front of that, we can continue to maintain a kind of level expenditure in relation to PERS, or more level expenditure. And then the final recommendation is to place the remaining amount into fund balance after accomplishing items 1 and 2. This would also provide some flexibility for its use in the future towards cost overruns on projects, towards maintaining the fund balance at the preferred 15% level as revenues continue to climb, not having to take resources from future years to put to that, keeping it at a nice steady rate right now. So I already went over the information on this slide. The PERS is going to be increasing, and then the reasons for the fund balance contribution. So then the numbers on this shortly, how this would really work is the proposed resolution would give the finance director authorization to calculate the estimated remaining amount, revenues minus expenditures for the fiscal year, revenues received and expenditures out, and then pay off the multi-sport complex internal fund loan, and then you'd have the estimated remaining amount after that. Then there's a chart right below that that shows the estimate. So that would be the $939,000 towards the loan, and then there's about $1.4 million to the other two items, prepayment of PERS and $1.4 million to fund balance. Excuse me. The reason we do this at June 9th and not at the end of the fiscal year is if we do it at June 9th, it gives us sufficient time to work out the mechanics of making an actual prepayment to CalPERS, so that it would make certain that the recalculation and the next actuarial evaluation they do will be reflected on our fiscal year 18-19, not next fiscal year, the following fiscal year's PERS rates that they give us, or their unfunded actuarial liability that they provide us. So that's the earliest we can possibly impact the future increases. So next year is set at this point. This would be impacting 2 years from now. Any questions on that concept at this point, or before I move on to the transit component? Okay. All right. So on transit, there are no mid-year actions for transit, but I do want to point out a few things that are kind of happening that make the transit fund look a little different this current year than it was. We're still projected to finish the year in the black this year. We are actually going to be putting, we think at this point, a little close to $9,000 into the negative fund balance, to increasing that, bringing it back closer to zero. But it's less than the fully anticipated amount for the current year. We originally were about $150,000. It's a little misleading to look at it just that way, so we told a little bit of a story in the staff report about a 2-year look back on the STA revenues, which is our state transit assistant revenues. They remain consistent with our budgeted projections on a 2-year basis. However, due to some accounting requirements, placed on us by SACOG, we will actually be down in the current year. Essentially, their estimates, the revenue came in the summer. They asked us to accrue it back to last fiscal year. We had already adjusted our number down last fiscal year, so what we presented to the council with the budget was lower for last fiscal year. We brought that money back, increased what we finished last year with, and it's going to make this year look a little worse. But over a 2-year period, we're roughly in the same spot. We also had anticipated some fixed fuel contract savings for this fiscal year, and they started to accrue a little later than anticipated. The contract took a little longer to negotiate, but it's now in place, and we're starting to realize some of that savings, and we would anticipate some of that to continue in future years. And then there were some projects that crossed fiscal years unanticipated. Again, made last year look a little better and this year a little worse. All told, we still think over 2 years we're about the same spot, but it'll just look a little bit different when it comes back at budget time. Also, there's some significant uncertainty with the transit funding right now. In the current federal fiscal budget, they've authorized 7 of 12, and for Federal Transportation Administration has authorized 7 out of 12 months worth of funding. That doesn't impact us for fiscal year 16-17, but it does have an impact to 17-18. There's a potential reduction of $450,000 to our transit fund next fiscal year for us if Congress doesn't act to authorize that additional 5 months of funding or increase the amount in some way. So that would take some congressional action to do that. Given the change in administration, we're not sure what the attitude towards funding of transit is at this point in time, so we're continuing to monitor that. There's a decrease that we're seeing in the coming years in cap and trade revenues, which is a small portion of what we get for the transit fund, but we're continuing to monitor that, and that's declining. And there's also significant capital needs, replacement and refurbishment of buses. We can't replace all the buses, that's way too expensive, but we do replacements and refurbishments. We primarily rely on grant funding for that, and given, again, the uncertainties of receiving those funds, we're not sure when that would, or if that's going to be available. From fiscal year 2019-2020 to 2022-23, we're looking at $1.6 million per year. Those numbers are from our draft financing plan from the draft comprehensive operational analysis that's been prepared and will be coming forth to council in the future. Whether that plan's adopted or not, the capital needs are going to be there. So we think that's a good number with or without the COA's implementation. So that closes the book on transit. So talking about our capital improvement program, Shay will go into a little more detail. Essentially, our development related fees are down right now, but we don't think it's enough to modify budgets at this point in time. Our high profile projects, our civic center, new growth area, those types of projects at this point in time, there's enough revenue to continue planning and continue building and delivering those projects at this point in time. Most projects are multi-year in nature anyways, so a lot of the funds will roll over, or budgets will roll over into the next year, ultimately until the projects are delivered. But if we continue to see the trend that we're seeing right now, this may affect project delivery in future fiscal years. So now I'm going to jump into the changes. There are 7 project revisions that are requested, and there's no new projects being added. These 4 projects here are additional grant funding that the city's received for the excuse me, Bradshaw Sheldon Roundabout, the grant funding for additional bridge maintenance, White Lock Parkway and Franklin Creek pedestrian bridge, as well as additional CDBG, not additional, but reprogrammed CDBG funds. They were made available because at the last council meeting, council closed out some CDBG projects, so we're reallocating those at this time to additional projects, curb ramp projects throughout the city. 3 additional requests. There's additional funding for right-of-way acquisition in the Old Town Streetscape project. There's a number of sliver parcels that were unanticipated to be acquired initially, and there's a lot of different properties around, and so that's being allocated at this point in time. $1.8 million in roadway impact fee is requested for the right-of-way acquisitions for Lots Parkway, based on previous direction of acquisitions of those properties. And then there's a small project for the East Franklin Landscape Corridor fee on the Franklin Creek pedestrian bridge to add some additional lighting there. So that takes us through the CIP requests. Here's the non-CIP budget request. In the general fund capital reserve and drainage, there's the flow of funds for the repayment of that initial borrowing for the, it says Old Town Plaza, it should say multi-sport complex loan. It flows through those three funds. The money goes out of the general fund into the capital reserve and then into the drainage fund. So there's multiple budget actions to make that one transaction work. There's additional gas tax funding for additional traffic signal and streetlight maintenance. There's also additional gas tax funding going towards a pavement condition index evaluation project that's going on citywide to give us a better sense of what our pavement repair needs are and costs will be. We have transit CFF funds going towards a reimbursement agreement for a developer who delivered projects within that CFF program. There's Measure A funds, $150,000 towards maintenance at the Waterman-Sheldon intersection. There's programming of $27,000 for an update of the Laguna Ridge Supplemental Parks Fee Program Nexus Study to be conducted starting this fiscal year. There's additional revenues and expenses for street use and utility expenses in the Development Services Fund due to some additional activity there. And then there's additional facilities projects that will be undertaken at City Hall and the Courtyard. And then there are two non-CIP budget requests. Don't let the number on the top one scare you. That's related to the Laguna Ridge Series 2016 bonds that were issued last year, refinanced old debt, issued some new money debt, and essentially we moved it from one financing structure to another that more similarly aligns with all of our other debt that's issued. It's an accounting change from one type of fund to another. That necessitates this action. There's actually no new spending being authorized. It's just putting it in the right place so that our budget numbers will match our accounting numbers, akin to a bookkeeping issue, essentially. It will now make it easier when folks read the budget to see all of our debt in one place. It'll probably be on the front and back of a page in the budget rather than 30, 40 pages apart in this case. So it'll make it a little easier for people to see it. And then in integrated waste, there's a number of different items that are being requested. There's a replacement vehicle. There was a green sheet, actually two green sheets related to that, and a revised Exhibit A to your resolution. We had discussed it in the staff report and did not put the line item on the resolution for the $16,000 towards that vehicle. There's additional outreach related to the changing of billing from city staff to Republic. There's also additional costs related to the renegotiation of the Republic contract. There's some long-range planning contract costs as well, and upgrades to various online applications that the department uses. There's also a change to how the franchise fee is accounted for that was not originally budgeted, and that's also included in here. Any questions about any of the budget changes? All right. So we have a quick update on development fee revenues and performance measures. Shay Narayan, budget analyst, or senior budget analyst, will be presenting.
Greetings, Mayor Lee and fellow council members. I'm Shay Narayan, Senior Budget Analyst for the city, and I'll go ahead and move into the next topic, development fee revenue. So thus far, the story is that development revenues overall were budgeted to observe a significant increase from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. However, currently at mid-year, we are lagging these projections significantly. Impact fee revenues this fiscal year projected to decline and have a shortfall for the first time in 5 fiscal years from what we are seeing currently at mid-year. This projects to be about a $6 million year-to-year decline, essentially, and an $11 million shortfall from our projected budget on impact fee revenues overall. which include your roadway fee, CFF's capital facilities fees, including landscape, parks, police services. And then in particular, Development Services Fund is projected to be in a negative position for the first time since fiscal year 2013-14. And these impacts of that particular fund stem primarily from a slowdown in building permit activity. So there's a couple of slides here that kind of illustrate everything I just summed up. In this one, we're looking at all development impact fees comprehensively. And basically, if you look at actuals projected for 2017 at 11 million from the 22 million or so projected for the budget at the beginning of the fiscal year. So that's sort of your 11 million shortfall essentially. And the year-over-year $6 million difference between last fiscal year actuals and the projected 11 million for those. And then this graph right here sort of shows you the past few fiscal years where our budget is in the red and then the actuals were in the green, and we sort of exceeded every year up until this fiscal year. We're projected not to have that trend continue. And then moving on to the Development Services Fund itself. So we're really looking at building revenue right now and specific to that fund because that's primarily what's driving some of the shortfall. So as you can see, about $1 million short of the budget is what we are predicting for the end of the fiscal year. And that would leave us about a few $100,000 short from the previous year that we had in actuals. And then similarly, I have a graph that just kind of shows that we were steadily sort of streaming up, and sometimes the budget would be exceeding, sometimes not. But this fiscal year, we're definitely projecting that there would be a slight decline in both. So essentially, the current landscape that the staff has been looking at is that we've reached out to local developers, Building Industry Association, and surrounding local agencies, and have determined the trend is likely regional and possibly national. Factors to contribute to the trend include high construction costs, rising housing and rent costs relative to income and wage increases over the past couple of years, and signals of a potential economic downturn. For Elk Grove in particular, lack of finished lot inventory in like Poppy Ridge, Laguna Ridge, SEPA, et cetera, may indicate a more natural lull rather than a systemic one. So basically, conclusions and next steps for us at this time are if we build surrounding infrastructure in Poppy Ridge and the new growth area, hopefully that will lead to an uptake in development activity. Staff continues to monitor trends in the development revenue field around the region. And we're working on developing a robust forecasting model with the goal to be able to predict some of these natural slowdowns in the future. And we continue researching and monitoring economic activity locally and nationally as well, and also working to enhance regional collaboration with other local agencies and private development community as well to gain a more holistic perspective on residential development. So with that, any questions from any of you on development fee revenues?
Questions?
Question, yeah.
Yep. Hume?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Shay, if you'll go back to the graph of the projected development impact fees versus the actuals, that one.
Yeah.
If you look at the trajectory of the projections of 2013, 2014, 2015, had we maintained that trajectory of projections, we would have come in under the actuals of 2017. Recognizing that the actuals were on a steeper trajectory, it looks like the decision was made to jump up the projection in 2016, and then you not only continued that trajectory, you actually increased the steepness of the trajectory again come to 2017. We had a little house of cards that was built back in the early 2000s that came down, crashing down because of trajectories like that. So that's one thing that I'd just like to put out there as a caveat, is that you don't always have to be right. Usually, just as long as you keep those projections below the actuals, you're going to get the praise that you need, right? The second question, though, is with respect to the building revenue. It would seem to me that given a function of a lot of those revenue is to pay for the cost of processing permits, if we're not processing permits, what are we paying for that revenue is not coming in at the same level?
With Development Services Fund, a large chunk of that revenue is also plan checks as well. But for the remainder of your question, I'm going to go ahead and divert to our planning director.
Put me on the spot here. So Let me understand your question. You're saying because the revenues are down in building permit,
I'm saying, shouldn't there be a correlation of expense with respect to revenue? And if we're bringing in less revenue, that means there's less work to go around, means there should be less people cashing a paycheck. I thought that was the sort of way we had set up our system to be lean and mean. And
that is correct, but there's waves in all three divisions of planning, engineering, and building. Maybe Andrew can speak partly on this, but some of them thrive at times while the others don't. In other words, we have planning, get a lot of applications, and the next wave will be pushed to the improvement plan, the engineering, and then building. So I think what we're seeing here is a wave down in building permits, but our revenues and improvement plans are up. So that wave's gonna be pushed to building permits, and along with the new growth area coming online in 2018, you'll probably see a lot of those developers southwest of Whitelock, basically the old Phase 3 area, the Arbor Ranches, Tuscan Ridge, come online, as well as Sousa Dairies start to come online, because all that infrastructure would serve that. They won't have a larger public off-site obligation because the city would be delivering those improvements.
Pat, to add to that, when you, Councilmember Hume, when you have the,
you had it right the first time.
Okay, good. All right. When we have building revenue coming in and we have a lot of permits being pulled, the building revenue during that point of the building cycle, we have more permits than map activity and development engineering activity. We are more cash positive during those periods of time. When we have less of the building revenue and more of the development engineering and map activity, it throws our cash flow off, and we run into a situation like this year where we think we're going to be cash negative in the fund, and it's essentially the way the fee structure is set up. We can cut a lot of expenses on the building side because it's a per permit cost, and they're generally cost recovery. It also has to do a little bit with the permit mix. We have certain permits that come in, say the residential type permits, the water heater or something like that. That's not a full cost recovery permit, but somebody comes in a single family residential permit, that's the activity type that's down, and that's the type where we can recover our full cost on those types of permits. So it just really is I think, where we are in the cycle that's causing this, and you naturally will see in this fund kind of those ups and downs. We're just, if it's a one-year thing, it's something we can weather because we've had a couple of positive years the last few. If it's an ongoing trend, it's something that we'll have to take significant action to make changes with that.
Well, and I think you've correctly identified the indicators at your disposal as to what the future is going to look like, and that is what is the pipeline that's coming through. So in those departments, one feeds the next, and there's a pretty clear trend that can be recognized. I guess what's disturbing me on this is going back to those trajectories on that one graph is why did our expenses jump up to the point to where we're now have a negative balance?
Oh, those are all revenues.
The charts are all revenues.
I understand that, but what I'm hearing is for the first time, development service will come in the red.
For the first time in 3 years, yes.
Okay.
It will.
So again, looking at this, we ratcheted up. No, go back to the other one, please.
Oh, where I
There,
mentioned
yep.
it.
That one. Looking at this, we ratcheted up the trajectory in 2015 to 2016. You know, to compensate that we were off trajectory from the other years. Had we then matched the trajectory from 2014 to 15 and 15 to 16, we would have been closer to the actuals, but instead we ratcheted the other way to make it even steeper projection. But my question is, how did our expenses keep pace with that misplaced revenue projection?
This chart here is development impact fees. So this is the capital stuff. This isn't funding Darren's operations. If we go to the next chart, we can show where we are. This one is projected versus actuals, and you see we actually dropped our projections on the building revenues this fiscal year. So this is more the department operations revenues. To speak to your point of ratcheting that up, yeah, we made a mistake there, and that was we had our estimate almost entirely internally generated. Darren's group's gone out and gotten a lot of information from local developers and builders to layer on top of that for us to start building our projections in for next year. So as Shay mentioned as well, talking to others in the region and trying to get a more holistic approach than just saying, yeah, you know, us sitting in the finance and budget world with a quick conversation with the building guys, here's our number. We're putting it together much more based on this pipeline right now. Excuse me, the fact that the expenses are exceeding the revenues in the building department, it has to do with the type of activity that we have. If we're not having enough building revenue coming in to offset the either subsidized or delayed revenues that we get from the development engineering, mapping, planning side of things, then we will be cash flow negative in those years.
Okay.
And the planning is a higher operational budget item. In other words, overhead is hit more on the planning side than it is building and engineering. So we still have to process code amendments. We still have to have a planner of the day at the front counter to answer residents' questions or builders or business owners' questions. We still have to have special requests bring back to the council. So there's a lot of overhead involved with the planning, and that's probably why you see as soon as revenue's down, which is the one that really holds us together, then you see those expenses still are up there because we still have to provide that service.
Okay. Councilman Sue?
Thank you. This is, these are pretty difficult to project. I mean, it's a volatile industry, but I know you're trying to put together more of a better forecasting model. I'm curious what you're using to project now.
What we're doing right now is we're putting together a matrix of all the current projects, where they stand. Are they at tentative map? Are they at final map? How many building permits have been issued with those maps? To be able to correlate that forecast, okay, we're seeing a lot of activity on the engineering side. How does that equate to what happens in building permit side maybe months from now? I'm also working with the BIA and merchant builders on obtaining absorption rates so I can better forecast how many of those units of, say, a 900-unit subdivision, how many of those units are going to be actually delivered in one given fiscal year, and then the next, and then the next. So we're putting together that. My goal is to put that as a database that will be continued to be built on, that the more data we collect, the better we can forecast.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope.
All right, moving on to the next topic, which is performance measures. So this is mid-year performance results and proposals for fiscal year 16-17. So as you recall, in June, we adopted the 16-17 budget, and in conjunction also adopted the citywide performance measures for the fiscal year. Overall results at mid-year, really briefly, we have 71 quarterly citywide measures, 66 reported green, 7% yellow, and 27% red. We have only a couple of proposed changes at mid-year this fiscal year. Public Affairs is replacing a measure of theirs and changing targets on another, and Integrated Waste is removing a measure and adding a new one, which I'll go over in the next couple of slides really briefly. So just results in brief. Looks like, just like I mentioned before, we overall are looking at 70% or so green and 7% yellow and 23% red, all inclusive. And the city council goal that had the most green as far as percentage goes at mid-year is the recognize the city's high operational performance goal. And keeping in mind that there may be revisions to these goals coming up in the council retreat here shortly. But for now, these are the goals that we have as aligned to performance measures. So a couple of quick proposals here. Public Affairs, a number of visits to the website. They are proposing a couple of just slightly modified targets, 330,000 and 1,320,000 for the annual target for the hits to the website. And we are deleting the percent increase in Facebook friends and replacing that with a social media measure that is more comprehensive. Integrated waste, we are taking the SWAC customers that are Elk Grove residents measure, making it internal only, and adding in a new measure that will look at non-Elk Grove residents using the Special Waste Collection Center to compare with the measure we have that looks at Elk Grove residents that use the Special Waste Collection Centers of other centers in the county. Any questions on the proposals that we have for performance measures at mid-year?
Questions? Nope.
Great, excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and move it back over to Andrew for the next topic.
So I just wanted to show you real quick, there's a slide in your, or a page in your staff report on the Open City Hall tool that we have, and it's what we've been advertising. We had the kiosks out there tonight. We did get a few people to come participate, so you can see here, here's our little online tool. Folks can take a look at. This is more for feedback for next fiscal year, so it's not really related to your action item tonight, more just for information. We've got almost 200 visitors to the site. 68 folks have put a budget in. 40 have actually registered that budget. 28 are unregistered. It has to do with them claiming it after the fact. If they've done the kiosk mode, they're unregistered because it sends them an email. They have to go claim it at home. Some people don't like to claim something on their email that comes from the city. All of them have verified their address, though, and an email that they are an actual person through the process. When you go click in here, it gives information, links to all of our budget information on our website, but it also shows you here, if you go to feedback, you can see the budgets of other residents. All these different colors represent a different service. Residents are allowed to comment without showing their name, but because their address is verified, it tells us where they're from, or they can put their name. Then you see their comments. If I drop down in here, you can see how they allocate, say, police services, animal services, economic development. We have some drop-down menus inside there. These are pre-programmed by the city. So we get to really get a sense of what folks' priorities are. And then they also have a category. This resident didn't put anything in there, but there's a category for other. So we can look at that as well. And what I think is really, really cool, and we'll dive in a lot of detail on this as we go through the budget process going forward, and then the council retreat. But we can see things by map, and actually the layers that we have in here right now, we can put any layers in this. We have our council districts. So you can see heat maps by council districts. So District 4, there's 12 participants. District 3 is 6. District 1 is 10. And you see the relative breakdowns within those districts. And I can get roll-up reports of the overall budget and what people said in the others. And you can do word clouds and all that kind of fun stuff through this. We can layer any kind of geographic areas on this that we have in our GIS database. If we wanted to use it for projects later on, CIP, something like that, you can put a pinpoint and a radius of areas around that or something. So just a new tool that we're using to try to get feedback, drum up feedback for our budget this year. So with that, we're finished. Any questions that you have on the presentation, the information contained, and then it's council action?
Councilman Soon.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew. Like the presentation. I like the new tool. Question about back to the decision or the recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about unfunded liabilities with PERS. I think weighing a little early. I think this is a prudent plan to retire some debt and address unfunded liabilities. Given if we're expecting a little bit of a downtick, I'm just wondering about OPEB in addition to PERS. Do you guys look at that, or what's the issue there?
I think Brad can probably speak in more detail to the OPEB issue, but I do know that we have a few plans and we have made significant strides in the past to address those, but Brad can fill in the details on that.
The city has two OPEB trust accounts. The first one was in place during the early years of the city and was closed to new participants in 2010. That fund, or that OPEB trust, is about 54% funded. So it's not funded at a high level, But the good news is it's closed to new participants, and so therefore the future liability, there's some containment there. The second OPEB is what's called the rate subsidy type OPEB, where a annuitant, a retiree, would be eligible to have the current rate is about $125 a month go towards their health insurance premium. And that one is 93% funded. In both cases, actuarial reports are done that inform the city on what the annual required contribution is. The city is funding at least the annual required contribution, and maybe just a tad, a little bit more, but not a significant difference. The city made a concerted effort a few years ago to fund the 93% OPEB trust. For example, the city didn't even have that trust. They had an obligation, but didn't have the trust until trust was established maybe 2013, 2014. So the city's made a concerted effort to get that into a good funding status and has been successful with that.
So what I'm hearing is, and then for folks, other public employee benefits, OPEB, there doesn't sound like you're as far behind as PERS. And you have a plan to catch up with the OPEB funds as well. Is that what I'm hearing?
So the OPEB is, there's two.
Yeah, there's two.
The one that's closed, so that is already restraining liability. So there's like a lot less risk with that one.
Okay.
Even though it's just a little bit over 50% funded. So the funding level isn't great, but the good news is the liability is being constrained because you don't have new participants joining and receiving that benefit. The second one that is 93% funded, so nearly at 100%, is a more contained benefit. And so the current benefit to a retiree at this point is a $125 payment from the city on their health insurance. So it's a much smaller obligation, and also is nearly 100% funded.
Yeah.
So not a concern. And again, in both cases, the city has been funding the annual required contribution at least.
Okay, I'm just trying to get comfort level with, we're not quite there, but it sounds like one's constrained, the other you're pretty close, but you got a plan to get there eventually, it sounds like. Okay, thank you.
No more questions? Great.
All right.
No more questions. Great presentation.
Thank you.
At this point, I want to open to public comment, and I see one speaker signed up, Mr. Michael Manaski. Coming up, please.
Our roads have been described as our most valuable asset. Why do we let them crumble? The Paved Condition Index Fund, number 221, only has $60,000 in it. It looks like there's problems with the budget, that we have development fee shortfalls and a development fee, a services fund that's running in negative territory, as Mr. Hume pointed out. Does that mean that we need higher permit fees from developers to cover overhead expenses of planning and engineering? Why is the finance department projecting fees that jump from $12 million to $22 million in just 1 year's time? Those huge increases on expectations seem ridiculous. We should fix and repair our roads before they become prohibitively expensive to maintain. How can we salt away 25% of general funds for rainy day needs while our roads are crumbling at about the rainy day savings rate, about $15 million a year? Just how far behind is the city in maintaining our roads? It's one thing to have unfunded liabilities, it's another to watch your own house collapse. And I think that's what the city council does. That's why I accuse you of being thugs and gangsters and criminals, because frankly, you're irresponsible, especially when it comes to taking care of the house. The house is collapsing, our house in terms of being the asset and the roads. And that's not even in here in this consideration of the mid-year considerations. We're dancing around public relations and, integrated waste management, which, by the way, still burns our green waste. Burns our green waste, doesn't turn it into compost. So I need an answer from this city. How far behind are we in maintaining our roads? And what's the true cost of burning our green waste? How much money does, the waste management make? And what cost is it in burning it instead of composting it? I'd like to see answers about that. I'd like to see some numbers and some values put forth. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Seeing that there are no additional speakers, I want to close public comment and go for the council for deliberation and direction. Councilman Hume?
Thank you. I do have just a couple more questions. The first is, Andrew, on the, I don't remember which slide it was, but basically it showed that you were asking for $150,000 for maintenance for the Sheldon Waterman intersection. And I'm just curious as to why we need $150,000 in maintenance of a brand-new intersection?
Well, I think maybe that's mislabeled. Essentially, it's $150,000 for pavement repair in general. I mean, we're seeing, because of the rains and the deterioration of the pavement, we're just seeing the need for more work. And some larger areas on Waterman, down south near Grant Line Road, we have some areas that are deteriorating, so we wanted to do some more extensive, at least patch paving in the interim.
Waterman/Sheldon road maintenance, not necessarily the Waterman-Sheldon intersection. Okay.
I think I spoke intersection.
I think you,
And
somehow I got it in my
I
head.
added that word in, and I don't think that's what was requested. So.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you, Andrew, is first of all, it's always a good idea when you're in the numbers crunching business to, let me make sure I get this right, under promise and over deliver. And so the fact that you're coming up saying, hey, we've got some extra, quote unquote, because there's no such thing as extra money in my book. We've got some extra money, what would you like us to do with it? That's a good thing. So I wouldn't worry so much about a new base. I would worry about continuing to make your projections come in the right way. That makes me happier. And then the other thing is that I appreciate that you're looking at just putting at least a portion of this money straight into the fund balance. The idea that the 15%, that's a floor. That's not a ceiling. And we can squirrel money away so that it's there if something unforeseen or something that is time sensitive or whatever use we can purpose it for. But then the last thing I want to ask about is the $939,000 that's at the top of this that is to go back to repay the sports complex. I think the gentleman that Councilman or Vice Mayor Detrick tried to engage or didn't actually want to engage but tried to correct, he wasn't going to let himself be confused with facts. But it's important to note that by using this $939,000, that $6 million that was borrowed from the drainage fund will now be repaid. And so Mr. Owen's going to have to find something new to criticize us about when he comes to the podium. I'm sure he will. I have faith in him. But that will no longer be on the table. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Sun?
Yeah, I want to echo Councilman Hughes' comments, but to correct him a little bit, it was Mr. Hoy, I believe, was the gentleman.
Mr. Hoy tonight, but Ed has come to the podium several times and said, what about the $6 million from the drainage fund?
Oh, I got you. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I also want to echo, again, the comments about, saving for a rainy day. But I did want to address the comment about roads and just that it is an issue that I believe this council and all the staff has an eye on. It's a difficult challenge, and it's not just one with this city. It's nationwide. And there's a lot of contributing factors to it. Gets down to funding. Our gas tax hasn't been increased and kept up with inflation. with electric vehicles on the road, a lot more folks aren't even paying gas tax. So there's a lot of contributing factors to the challenges that we have in obtaining road funding. And then just quite the fact that we have a lot of infrastructure throughout our country, not just roads, but dams, bridges, levees that all need funding. And it's something that we're going to need to contend with. All agencies are going to need to contend with over the next, next few years, even, maybe decades. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor, you're good?
Hey, Andrew, thank you for the, and Shay, both for the report. And, I get a lot of my questions answered in the briefing, so sometimes I don't ask as many questions during the meeting because I've already had them answered in those briefings. I have to agree with my colleagues and relative to the road maintenance issue, and as both councilmen have mentioned, the deteriorated facilities that are out there, I've seen it in pretty much every industry. There was a big boom across the country in the 1950s. And so not only the assets that you see above ground, all the assets you see below ground with gas pipes and electric facilities and phone and cable and everything else. So basically our whole nation has a deficit with rebuilding our infrastructure. And hopefully with the revenue neutrality as we have coming back, so that'll ramp up a little bit, sales tax, other development coming through here that will continue to have some increase in our revenue sources to help fund some of these underfunded items. But no, great job tonight, and I support what you put forth here, and I'll move this item after our next two mayor and newest council member have their discussions.
Good, Councilwoman?
I agree with Councilman Soons about electric cars. I actually just purchased one as well, too. And so as things change around here, one of the things that I'm not sure we're able to do this, but if there's an update on these projections, that you can send them to us and that we can bring them back so we can see that. A lot of the things I heard you say also is that I'm not sure what the new administration is going to be and how things are going to happen. So I'd like to see as we move forward, what will we do, right? And how can we help with that as well, too?
Great. Nothing else to add? Have a motion? Do we have a second? Second. Have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
I'm going to abstain because a portion of this does fund 2 police officers, I believe, and a dispatcher. So I'd like to abstain from this.
Okay, for the record, we have an abstention from Councilwoman Nguyen. And meeting is adjourned, 9:45.
Perfect.